Sorry. Hang on a second. Crud. Oh, there we go. Okay. Good God. Oh, it's going to be one of those nights, isn't it? Oh, man. All right. Oh, hey, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the train wreck that's already started off. So it's a good stream. It's going to be a good stream. I am Dex Tokuyasu. Otherwise, why would you be here? It's going to be just a chatting stream tonight. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible, hopefully. And I may end up doing some Duolingo tonight. Hang on. Still getting everything set up here. Good God. All right. I think that'll work. All right. Wow. Yeah, it's been a busy day. I was like late getting out of work tonight, rushed here. And then I remember last night all the bot issues I had in chat. And I'm like, well, crap. I can't let the overlay that I use with Stream Elements work. So I had to quickly throw together a different chat so that it actually displayed and hopefully won't show this bad stuff anymore. So here we are. So yeah, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, I did actually finish watching, I think it was episode 9 of Chainsaw Man, and my God, that show is throwing me for a loop. I really didn't think I was going to get into it because I really don't like gore that much. It's one of the reasons why I can't watch horror movies, because of the simple fact that I always end up almost wanting to throw up just because of how disgusting they are. That's usually what like horror slasher movies and stuff like that. They're really about like how much more blood that the human body has, you know, that kind of thing. But I gotta admit, Chainsaw Man is been insane. I usually I have to get a little squeam. I have to close my eyes a little bit during some of the really visceral stuff. But my God, the characters, you know, it's insane. And I have not read the anime, the manga. I have not read the manga, so I have no idea where it's going. Dealing with what do they call him, Samurai Man or Katana Man or something like that. And then God, what's her name? Makoto, the head of the team. Oh God, you know, Denji's boss there. The fact that I don't want to get into, because that's like spoilers and stuff, but it was just insane everything that happened. I was not expecting any of it, and I gotta admit, it's a really good show. I like the way the characters have been developing over this short little bit, and I'll tell you, it's like they are not afraid to kill people off. Holy cow. Like, I'm used to very slow burn anime. Like I like Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer. I really like that one. Even got through all the way the Mugen Train movie, I think it was. And that one, though, built up over quite a few episodes, you know, and you kind of experienced their life, you know, his life learning how to be a demon slayer, training and all that stuff, and then after he joins the society there. But Demon Slayer, they don't waste any time. Like, first episode, he's dead, makes a contract with the demon, with the Pochita, and he's already starting to slay demons. Well, he already was a demon slayer. He was a low level one. But God, this has just been, I can't even keep up with all of it. It's just so insane. Like, the power wasn't even really in it, which surprised me. I mean, I don't even remember her being in it at all. Like, you know, she was kind of in the other ones, but she was when they were inside the hotel, stuck in the was it the 13th? No, not the 13th floor, because 7th floor or something like that. But good God, it's really got me by the Gintama. It's for lack of a better term. Sorry. Yeah, I really like it, and I can't wait for the next episode to come out. I hated the fact that I ended up having to resub to Crunchyroll just because I don't like the way Crunchyroll's going now with the ones that got bought by Sony. And I think they bought Funimation. So Funimation's gone, which, you know, or is it Funimation bought Crunchyroll? One of them bought the other, and they're owned by Sony, which means all the options are kind of fading. You know, here we go, you know, Monopoly, which kind of sucks because like I like to have options and stuff, and I really don't want to pay for a subscription anymore because I've already got, like, I stopped paying for Netflix because they kept jumping the rates up. I had the 2 or 3 year plan with Disney Plus when that first came out. Like I bought that way back before it launched, and now of course that's done, and my rate went up on that, and I'm like, for crying out loud. And I think I pay annual, but it's like everybody just wants you to spend, put more, and it's like, no, I'm trying to save, you know? Like, the funny thing, too, is, like, I have my iPhone that I use for the stream, which, God, I completely forgot to set all that up. I was trying to fix the whole chat overlay issue, and then I forgot set YouTube Studio up. I'm like, God, I mean, Dex, you've been doing this almost a year, dude. Oh, God. I guess everybody has a problem. Like, it's the rush thing. But, oh my God, my iPhone, I wanted to upgrade it because they finally announced, what was it, the 14 or what, 13 or 14 or whatever it is. Yeah, I think it might be the 14. I have a 12S Pro, and I wanted to upgrade it. And right now I'm on with this phone here. I'm on the iPhone lease program, which I thought was strictly with Apple. Like basically leasing the phone from Apple, and then when I'm done, you know, you can turn it in and get the new one, and you just, you know, continue on with the payment plans. But I went to the store because I looked on the store app, and I couldn't find an option aside from buy the whole damn thing or put it on a credit card. Otherwise, you had to pick from one of the 4 carriers. And the thing is, I switched to Mint Mobile because I got sick and I was with AT&T. I was with AT&T even when it was Singular Wireless way back, and Singular was great. Like, they were cheap, great coverage. I had left Verizon to go to Singular because Verizon, I was literally numerous times a block away from a friend. I'm talking to them, and our phones would cut out. And I'm like, we're both on Verizon. How the freaking heck are we not even able to stay connected a block away from each other? And it was not just like a one-time thing. It was like consistently all year. So I just got fed up with it. I switched to Singular, never had a problem again. And then AT&T bought Singular, and the rates just started going up and up and up. I was now, at that point, when I finally dropped AT&T, I was paying like $280 some a month. And I'm like, this is freaking insane. Like, I was using it for work, and sure, I was getting I get monthly, part of my paycheck, I get a monthly comp for the cell plan. For my night job, and I was also writing off a bit of it too because I also use it for voiceover because it's my primary connection method. I don't have an office phone. Not Time Warner. Spectrum keeps trying to sell me on an office phone for my studio, and I'm like, I don't even want to be with you guys for internet. Why would I want to buy your phone plan too? And I'll talk, now that popped in my head, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But anyway, I wanted to upgrade my iPhone, and I'm like, I just want to get back on the plan. So I went in the store, and they put me up with one of the sales guys, and, you know, kind of opened I actually worked at the Apple store for about 8 years. But this was like years ago. This was like, you know, 7-8 years ago. So I go in there, I don't know anybody anymore. I was one of the original store employees. And the new manager was slowly getting rid of us because they wanted to. Somebody told me it was called clearing the deck. They wanted to get rid of all the old guard and bring in their own people. But there was a few of us that were holdouts, and we were like, no, I don't want to leave. Like, what are you talking about? I'm perfectly fine. And it just became like, it became more of a, an aggressive environment, unfortunately, which was sucked because I liked working for the company. And the funny thing too was, everybody's like, oh, well, you love Apple and stuff. It's like, well, yeah, I like Apple because I get sick and tired of servicing, because I use Windows. I've used Unix because, the Mac has the Unix terminal in it. Hell, I've even used Linux a couple times too, just to get experience with it. And the funny thing is, every one of us who worked for Apple, we didn't care. We weren't like diehard, oh my God, you have to use Apple. We didn't care. Like, the people that came in, the people that shopped at the store were the ones that were like fanatics. And we always just look at it. And because I was, when I was done, I handled inventory. But I had moved from the Genius administrator for our store. And I remember joking with the guys in the back because we would talk about, I had my MacBook Pro was boot camped with Windows XP and then Windows 7 because I was using it for gaming. And all of us were familiar with all these other OSs. We had no problem. Some of us had boot camps. Some of us had, a couple guys had a Hackintosh, no less. Like, oh, dude, don't let the company know that. But it was always hilarious to see these people come in and like, oh my God, you guys must love Apple. And we're just like, well, we're working for the company. Yeah, we like it, but you use whatever you feel comfortable with. And it always just made people shocked and stuff. And I was like, dude, I even had one time, I know this is way off topic, I'm sorry. I even had one time where, because of the fact I had a lot of familiarity with all these different OSs, and I actually understood how Unix worked. And I'm not a programmer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not IT. Although at the company I work at, I am a part of IT because I manage the software development team. But I only know like HTML and CSS coding, just because I had to as an independent graphic designer for the longest time. So I have some experience working with developers and stuff, but I'm on the IT team anyway. And they're like, oh, Apple, you can service the Apple people. I'm like, what, why? Because like, we don't like Apple. I'm like, oh, fine, all right. So ironically enough, I end up servicing that. But to steer it back to the original point. So go into the store, don't know anybody. They hook me with this kid, and nice guy, don't get me wrong, but he's like, oh, you want to upgrade your phone? I said, yeah, I'm on the Apple lease plan. He's like, okay, what carrier are you with? And I'm like, I'm a Mint. He's like, what's that? I'm like, I mean, first off, how the hell do you not know Mint? Ryan Reynolds advertises the shit out of that thing. When I finally pointed out Ryan Reynolds, he said, oh yeah, I've heard ads on YouTube about that. I think, yes, yeah, there you go. He's like, yeah, unfortunately you can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you have to be with one of the 4 carriers. That's how the Apple lease works. I'm like, well, I'm leasing it from Apple. And he's like, technically, yes, but also it's the carrier is providing for that. I'm like, freaking hell. The whole point I did it was to get away from the damn carrier so I didn't have to worry about, trapped with them until my payments are done, And no, I still, so I can't upgrade. I'm paying the lease because, I still have total on it, which is fine. But it's just frustrating because now I have to pay the full damn amount and trade the phone in, which, would drop the price down. But I'm like, dude, that is way more than just paying like, at the most $100 setup fee or something like that, and just continuing on. Now it's like, oh, $700 for the version of the phone to match what I'm using right now as far as capacity and stuff. I'm just like, that just pissed me off. I'm like, dude, come on. Why are we nickel and diming everybody here, please? Oh my God. But God, there was something triggered me. What was it? I was talking there and I remembered. I was like, oh, I'm going to talk about this. Crap. What was it? Shoot, I can't remember. It'll come back to me if it's something important. But yeah, Chainsaw Man I loved. Had the issues with getting all set up. The phone, forgot to set that up. Oh God, last night. The stream was fun. I mean, I had great time with Darkest Dungeon, even though it was like bending me over and beating me like crazy because the RNG was just like, no, you're not gonna have an easy time. You're gonna die. You're gonna lose. And we still made it through, and we beat the Sonorous Prophet. Is that what he's called? Which I completely confused him with because I have one of the DLC that has the Insanity. I can't remember which one it is, But it had this guy, he looks like he's in a straitjacket, and he's a part of the normal enemies. But I confused that enemy with the Sonorous Prophet, not remembering that he was the boss. So I ended up wasting more time in the dungeon, and that sucked because I was like, I could have had it done a lot sooner although at the time I wasn't really running with a higher team, because unfortunately at that point I was in, I think, still like the first level dungeon. So of course my level 3s didn't want to go in there because it was beneath them. So I sent in a level 1 squad, people that were at level 1, and it was just one bad problem after another. I think 3 out of the 4 ended up with afflictions, and it was just bad. Like, one was abusive, the other one was like paranoid. There was one, the guy. I can't remember what he's called. But he's like a leper. And he was like in the second position. The first position I had the barbarian. She was okay, but I can't remember what affliction she had, but she was at least not breaking and trying to run. But the leper kept trying to move to the back line, and I'm like, dude, you have no attacks. You have nothing from the back. Get back up into second position. So I didn't have to waste some time. All the time, of course, there's no prep that there's gonna be rocks falling from the ceiling. And so I had three of them were all just like one guy is just bitching in the back, complaining. I think he was the paranoid one, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna die, And I'm watching the stress jump. I'm like, God, what the hell's going on? And I had my healer at least this time. So I had the Vestal, I think she is. She was in the third position, and I'm trying her keep her to heal, because you have to keep her in the third or fourth, otherwise she can't use the heal spell. And I think it was an Arbalest. I think the Arbalest was in the back, because he has a bandage skill. And the two of them, I couldn't even, at the time, I couldn't even use Sharpshooter, because we're trying to break through the barrier, trying to get the Prophet. And, oh my God, it was chaos. And then all of a sudden, oh God, boom, the Vestal got hit, and she was on death's door. I'm like, no, God, no, not the healer, please. And I was scared that the guy who had, because I can't remember which one it was. One of them had abusive. I think it was actually the Arbalest that had abusive. And I know from a previous stream playthrough that like, I had I call him a paladin, but I can't remember what his class is. He had abusive, and he kept attacking the other party. Our party. He almost killed a couple of them in the middle. I'm like, dude, I think I ended up putting that in one of the shorts. It was just so frustrating. But managed to kill the Prophet, and oh my God, but the Vestal died. My first death, and which isn't too bad. That was the third stream I'd done. I don't remember what day it was in the game, but we had already beaten the Apprentice Necromancer, now the Prophets. I think that's the second or the third boss. Man, that was just, oh God, that was just one nightmarish thing after another. The RNG was just bitch slapping me left and right. I hated it. Oh God. Oh, so anyway, that's that. God, what else? I mean, it was starting to snow last night. Thankfully, it hasn't been snowing today, so the driving was good. But I know at some point today we're gonna do some Duolingo, because I do want to keep up on that. I want to get my my XP up. I'm looking at it right now. I'm actually at rank number 20, which is not great. I usually like to keep up in the third or fourth rank. And we're going to be studying Japanese tonight. I have actually started studying Indonesian. The reason being is that, I mentioned this, I think it was either last night or the night before, the stream before. I was actually surprised to see that my demographics, like, was it 23? It was either 23% or like 8. It was either 18 or 23% of the people that view my VODs are from Indonesia. I'm like, well, I wasn't expecting that. That's cool. And I've actually been watching a ton of HoloLive and Nijisanji ID. So, like Muna, Risu, Ali, although I really love Kyla from HoloLive. She's hilarious. She's great. I love her door. She's funny. She's got that deadpan humor, which is amazing. But Kobo, God, Kobo with Regos from All Those Stars. Oh, I absolutely love their dynamic. Is amazing. But when you go to ID, holy cow, that is like unhinged even more so. Like, I guess it must be maybe it's an from Indonesian thing, because they are so different than any of the other branches in their own groups. Oh God, it's like Mika Melitika. I watch clips of her all the time, and whoa, that's like that is off the wall. It's hilarious. I absolutely love it. Um, but oh God, she's the what they call it, down bag kunti. I think that's the word for the ghost, the type of ghost she is in Indonesian. Oh man, but yeah. So I started doing a little bit of Duolingo in Indonesian. I'm assuming it's Bahasan, but tonight we're gonna be doing Japanese. But I'm gonna go into a little rant because I mentioned it on Twitter, and I really I've seen too many ads in social media feeds, and it's starting to really piss me off. Um, for anybody that doesn't know, I am not. I don't give out my IRL name. I am a voice actor. I've been doing it for 9 years, and primarily I do audiobooks now. But I have done. Oh, jeez. What? Oh, God. Oh, cable. Okay, we're good. Okay. I've done the industries I've worked in is commercial voiceover, so that's like radio and TV commercial. I've done corporate narration, which is like promotional stuff, internal promotional, specifically to industry stuff. I've done e-learning, which is of course like now please review this section. When you're ready, please click the play button, or something like that. And then lastly, I mostly do audiobooks now, which surprisingly was not. Quick aside, because if you're new to the stream, you're gonna find that my trains of thought derail fast, and I apologize for that. But when I first started doing voiceover, I had just started with a coach, and I wanted to get into it like an idiot, just jumping right in, like too many people now, even nowadays. I had a cheapo Yeti microphone, not the Pro, but it was like the Yeti Blue microphone. And I jumped into one of the casting sites that you pay, your membership for. And when the first gig I picked up was actually claiming, and this is one of those scamming ones. Warning, anybody that wants to get into voiceover, there are tons of scams, obviously. They were, I'm not going to give the name, because I believe they're still around, and they're kind of semi-legitimate, but they misrepresent the contract badly. And they were saying, okay, you're going to be voicing short articles, quote-unquote articles, okay? Now, at the time, I was actually volunteering at our local PBS radio affiliate doing what was called Reach Out Radio. And what that was, you would actually read the news, the local news, for people who are visually impaired. So it was a service for the visually impaired. It was fun. I ended up with the state section of the paper, so I was way more up on a lot of the politics than I wanted to be. But it was great practice, because I tell you, if you do want to get into voice acting, that is, if you can make the news interesting, if you can make like the state news interesting on politics interesting, you got half the battle right there. But it was one of those things at the time. So that in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, articles. Okay, that's like a news article. Perfect. That's like, 500,000 words. And I think at the time they said it was like 2,000 to 5,000, which I'm like, oh, okay, that's easy. Yeah, I can do that. No problem. And they're like, oh, we guarantee you $30,000 a year doing this. We have all this work. I'm like, sweet. Of course, new, no experience. I'm like, dude, sign me up for that. So auditioned for it, which was a joke. And they're like, you got it. You're great. I'm like, awesome. Yes, perfect. Great. First thing they sent me the next day, fucking nonfiction audiobook. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold it. I didn't know, where is this coming from? So, and this was not it wasn't a huge one, but it's ended up being like a 2.5 hour audiobook. Nothing I was ready for. Did not know what the hell I was doing. And it was not an article. So I was pissed off about that. I thought, okay, maybe this is a confusion one. And I looked through the contract I signed, and I finally saw it after the first one. Yep, nope, it was between, was it 10,000 to, so the number had jumped of words. And I'm like, fucking hell, all right, fine. I signed a contract. I'll do it. Maybe it'll actually get better, more close to what I was expecting. No, it did not. Second one, another one, same thing. And then a third one. I'm like, I can't do this. Because the turnaround for those two was like, they wanted them done in a week. And that's insane. That is crazy. And I was starting to stress out, and I was just like, this is not what I signed up for. I do not want to do audiobooks. This is not what I want to do. And I managed to actually break the contract with them. We parted on good terms, because you always, quick piece of advice, always be professional. Always be professional. If you are going to start charging for anything, whether you're a graphic designer, voice actor, artist, illustrator, anything, please be professional. Treat people with respect, because you never, ever, ever know when somebody talks and that gets around, So got out of that. In that moment, I swore, and this was 9 years ago. So I swore to myself, I was never going to do audiobooks. Never do audiobooks. So I ended up going through doing, corporate, commercial, that stuff. And my time at the time I was doing this, working for the same company I'm now. And they all of a sudden offered me the position that I'm in now, an interactive project manager. And I was like, oh, sweet. And that was like almost double pay rate. I'm like, dude, I need that money, That's going to make it easier. But they're like, we need you to work A shift. And if you've never worked in manufacturing, or if you've never worked in a factory or office environment, A shift, or a place that has shifts. A lot of places that work 9 to 5, you're never going to hear that. But you have A shift, B shift, C shift. And in our companies, we even have D's and E's. A shift is usually from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., at least here in the U.S. And then B shift usually starts from 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then C shift is usually around 11 p.m. to 8 a.m., 7 a.m. There's an overlap in there. So they wanted me to move off of B shift to A shift. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. And this is another thing. I know I haven't gotten to the rant on stuff, but this is kind of like setting the stage here. The work when you do commercial, and a lot of times corporate narration, and not the term narration is a misleading. It's longer form than a commercial, but a lot of time, but it's still like explainer. Some of the stuff I've done is more like, promotional for an upcoming event or a new initiative in the company. So they're longer than like a 30-second, 60-second, or 120-second commercial, but they're not even remotely close to audiobooks. So even though it's still referred to as corporate narration, you're basically like a movie narration. So those right there, and the e-learning I was doing were actually contracted. So they were called directed sessions. And a directed section is exactly what it sounds like. You're on the mic, like I am right now, but I have the cans on, like I do now too. But your mic and your system is linked up to their side. So there's a piece of software there used to be a technology called ISDN, which was back in the day before internet really blew up. I never used it. It was before my time even. It was put out by the phone company. It was a dedicated phone line, high speed, specifically for data transfer back and forth. And that's what mostly voice actors used. And I think it was also for like telecommunications, but voice actors at the time who worked remotely had that in their, and it was like expensive. It was disgustingly expensive, like $2,000-$3,000 a month expensive. Okay. And it was the only way that, you could have a quote unquote home studio and work with an actual production company. So the technology I use, even up to this day, it's called Source Connect. It's software. But the nice thing is it actually operates like ISDN. It's cheap. It's way cheaper. Way, way, way cheap. It's like $30 a month. It allows the remote studio. So they link in, they connect to their Source Connect. I sign into mine, which links to our. Then we almost connect like a chat, and that basically allows them to get the direct feed from my microphone through to them, so they have control of their soundboard. And then you also can hear their mic when they do the talk through. So because when you're in the studio, they'll push the button and it actually engages the mic, and they can communicate to you, say, "Hey Dex, that sounded great, but we kind of want a little more bright. Can you give us a little more brightness in the voice?" That kind of. So you get direction that way. That's a directed session, and usually at a bare minimum they're like an hour long. But the thing is, corporate, commercial, some e-learning clients, they wanted directed sessions, and they only work during 9 to 5. So me switching from B shift to A shift was going to kill that. And I was like, well, fudge, what am I going to do? But, I'm facing a doubled paycheck, which I'm like, okay, maybe that'll defray the cost. Maybe I can still work some of this stuff and do it. And the business I took the job, and then my voiceover business died because nobody wanted to work with me, because nobody was worth staying open late enough. So I ended up reaching out to one of my coaches, and I said, dude, what can I do? I don't want to stop doing voiceover, but I'm now not able to work full time. I'm not able to do this full time, because I've lost these clients. And he was like, Dex, the only thing you can do is either e-learning, which I was already doing, but my clients were local and they were in the studio, or audiobooks. The moment he said audiobooks, I'm like, fuck. Sorry for the swearing, but it's going to be one of those nights. Sake time, for anybody who's, happens to be lurking, sake time is when I can actually kind of open up a little bit more and feel, instead of trying to self-censor myself, which I do, but it's not going to get like crazy, but some words will slip out, so I apologize. I should put like a 18 plus on this, but it's not going to get NSFW kind of thing. But anyway, the moment he said audiobooks, I'm like, damn, are you kidding me? I don't want to do audiobooks. I went right back in my mind. So it was like 4 years. At that time, it was 4 years back. And I'm like, I do not want to do that shit. And he's like, well, go to ACX. This is where it ties into what I'm going to rant about. He's like, why don't you go to ACX, which is Audible Creation Exchange. It's Audible's back end. And, look at some of the auditions there. I'm like, all right, fine. So I pulled up one. Turned out the first audition I did I booked it. First audiobook. I learned a crap ton doing that, by the way. And I ended up having to hire I ended up hiring 2 coaches to help me who were specific audiobook narration coaches. Again, ties into what I'm going to talk about. And I got through it. And that actually has been my longest running series. I've actually done 12 of the 13 books in their series, which is really cool. And they've been actually some of the best clients I had. They put the books up for like everywhere. I'll be sitting sometimes, just either reading through a script, prepping another manuscript, and I get an email and it's like, hey Dex, you're up for another award. I'm like, what award? And we just put you in for this contest. I'm like, what contest? Wait, how are you guys finding this? And it's they don't even tell me. They're just like, hey, you were up for this. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I can't keep up with you guys. So they're really, really wonderful people. It's great. But it was one of those things I didn't expect and didn't want. But all of a sudden, it turned into something big. And I did enough books. Okay, before I go on, this is kind of the point. So what prompted me to think about this is one of my friends who's not a voice actor. They're just, I knew him from high school. Forwarded me this video, and he was like, Dex, hey, I know you're a voice actor. You're going to love this. And I'm like, oh, God, what is it going to be? So I open it up, and it's a link to a Facebook video. Already, I'm like, fucking Facebook. I hate Facebook. I hate what it's done to to this country. Oh, God, what is it going to be? Sure enough, it's this jackass in front of a microphone, in front of a soundboard, talking about, the next big financial thing that's going to make money all over the place is audiobook narration. I'm like, God damn it. Like, seriously? It's another one of these, like, oh my God. And for some reason, I don't understand why, the ads for this crap, scam coaches, this pop up on my feeds. And I'm like, why? I automatically say, I don't want to see this crap. I don't want to see this BS. It's still popping up. So it was one of those things I just kind of wanted to rant, because there was recently, was it like a month or two ago, there was the whole Bayonetta controversy. And, people talked about, I did my research, and I have no sympathy for voice actors because they make blah, 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 all this money and stuff. And I ended up posting, it was either to Twitter or to YouTube. I can't remember where. But it was one of the few times I actually jumped in and said, okay, look, here's the deal. You did research, and sure, even if she was offering, she took $4,000 for the whole project, for the whole Bayonetta project. First off, that is disgustingly cheap. And secondly, you're ignoring everything else beyond. Like, this is not a 9 to 5, 40-hour-a-week job. What she was going to be doing was not 9 to 5, 40 hours. It was going to be however many sessions it took. And then when she's done, she's done. She is not an employee of the developer of that game. She's not an employee. Voice actors are not employees. We are self-employed. We are freelancers. We're independent contractors, which means like when you work full-time for a company, that company oftentimes, at least in the US, will provide benefits. And we're talking like, obviously insurance benefits like health, dental, vision, life, long-term disability, death, dismemberment, which a lot of times those insurance ones are lumped together. But nevertheless, they provide those as benefits to as employee. However, you still pay for that because, hey, privatized medication. Anyway, sorry, I'm not getting into that stuff. I don't get into that. Just keep it out. Dex's den here is so I can get away from that stuff. So I'm gonna be that's a hard road for me. But the fact of the matter is, you still, as an employee, you pay some of the cost. The company takes over maybe 75% of the cost, and whatever's left over, you have to pay, which is way cheaper than trying to hold it yourself. So I pointed out, you're forgetting the simple fact that there's no company providing any benefits. You, as an independent contractor, have to pay all of the benefits. You need insurance, and if you do, you have to hunt for your own and pay out of pocket yourself. On top of that, a lot of times you have coaching, and you do need to get coaching because again, this is a professional job, and if you start taking money for anything, I don't care if it's a voiceover, it's art, being an illustrator or game developer, whatever. The moment you start charging people, you are putting yourself off as a professional, and you should treat it as a profession. Be serious about it. The fact of the matter is, too many, and look at it this way, even streaming, like what I'm doing right now, what you see people on Twitch, other streamers on YouTube, we're all a part of the entertainment industry. Whether it's some weird, the entertainment industry itself may not recognize it, but nevertheless, we are providing content for people to consume and be entertained by. Hopefully people are entertained by mine. But the fact of the matter is, the entertainment industry is brutal. It is, and you even see metrics nowadays about, people, they want to jump into the VTuber bandwagon because of the boom that happened in 2020. The boom's gone. And like me starting up streaming when I did was kind of like, okay, it's starting to peter out now, and you're jumping in, Dex. Like, okay, well, you know what? Hey, I'm in it for the long haul. But it's the same thing as like when all of these people said, I want to be a movie star. Great. What did you do? Oh, I did this community play. Okay, so you have some experience. However, stage acting is not the same as on-camera acting. That's very different. And these people would just like pack up, move to Los Angeles. And I cannot remember, it was like maybe 10 years ago when I saw a metric or something like that. And they were saying at the bare minimum, 90 to 95% of people that moved out to LA to become an actor never make it. Of the remaining 5 to 10%, 8 to 9% make just enough to live off of. It's that last 1% that are the ones that make it big, that get their break. And it's not to say somebody has to be that 1%. That's always been my rule. You're never gonna know unless you actually try. But you cannot treat it, and like that's one of the things. When that guy's video started, he's like, the next big way to make passive income or any is voice. And I'm like, no, you're not going to right off the bat. It literally took me, when I started doing audiobooks, I was doing one book every month and a half. That's not enough to live off of. And at the time I was working out of my house. But over time, I just wanted to start building it up. And, working with the independent authors are fine. They were nice people. And I did enough of those that when I went to APAC, the Audio Publishers Association conference, that's actually where the publishers go. And that's where you meet them. The audiobook industry, ironically enough, and the reason I'm talking about it is because this is where, like I said, my bread and butter is audiobooks now. And they are old-fashioned. The publishers want to meet you as a narrator. They want to get to know you before they even are willing to contract you. I didn't even have a shot with any of them, and nobody wanted to even listen to me until 3 years of doing those independent books for those authors. Built up enough of a repertoire, got nominated for a couple awards, and then when I went to APAC, I managed to secure a spot where I could actually audition for one of the publishers. And it was crazy. Like, it was great because it was with Tantor, and like they're big. They're part of spoken recorded books, which has at the time it was Gildan, but now it's called Ascent Audio, Tantor, Christian Audio, and I cannot remember the fourth one. But they do McGraw-Hill books too. So because I've got a couple McGraw-Hill, which are more educational, nonfiction. So I got the chance to do the audition, and even then, I still had to go into it with confidence, obviously. And I had to take a script, so I took 4, and I told the lady. She wanted to know a little bit. I introduced myself, talked a little bit. I actually at the time had my samples on a thumb drive. I gave it to her. She thought that was great. I also had my resume on there, my CV. And she was like, "Okay, so what are you going to do? What are you going to perform for me today?" I said, "Well, I got a choice for you." And I had 4 different ones that were vastly different types of books. One was a monologue, a male monologue. The second one had just a male and a female, 2 characters, nothing crazy. The third one had both male narrator, a female character, a male character, with different ethnicities, different nationalities. And then the fourth one was actually from a fantasy book. So that had more of a monster. One of the characters was like, if I remember correctly, it was like a troll or an ogre or something like that. And so I had to do the character voice, and that part of the character was like that. So it was giving her the option to actually say, "What do you want to listen to?" She's like, "I want the one with the male and the female the dramatic part." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I narrated it. Thankfully, it was from a book that got nominated. I was confident in that one. She's like, "Great, really great job, wonderful." Had a little bit of feedback. I'm like, "Awesome, cool." Said goodbye. That was it. So, piece of advice: if you ever want to get into voice acting, like any kind of acting, do not expect immediate response. Do not expect anything. When you do the audition, you do it, you move on. You do not stew over it. You are going to audition, and this is the other thing. When I posted about the Bayonetta thing, another thing I reminded them: you are not drawing a paycheck every week. There is what's called, and this kind of ties into what I'm also talking about too, what's, at least as far as the publishers and the clients, all of them I've worked for, which are pretty much corporations, and the publishers, all work on what's called Net 30. Net 30 terms means they have 30 days to pay you once they receive your invoice. So you're not getting that money right away. With independent, as an independent narrator with authors, that's a little different. I work it like I used to do as with graphic design, where I say, okay, I need 50% upfront to cover the cost because I have to pay for the proofer, which is the person who's going to take the PDF manuscript, and they're reading along as I am narrating it, and they're making sure I've said everything correctly. You can't deviate from the script. This is not improv. This is not, you are not allowed to change the author's words. I will on occasion fix grammar mistakes, but I have to record those so that the proofer knows it was intentional, and they have a reference and they have the reason why I did it. So I have to pay for the proofer when I'm in indie. When I do indie work, I have to pay for the proofer, and I have to pay for the producer, the person that actually generates the files that are going to go up on ACX to go through to Audible. So that's where I calculate the rate. But so I'm eating that cost at the very beginning. So that's why when you're in indie, I take 50% to cover that cost. The difference with indie is usually like once I get done with the narration, the proofing is done, the producer sends me the files, I upload them, the author has the chance to review everything. They're like, "This sounds great, Dex, great." I'm like, "Awesome, I'm sending you the final invoice." Boom. They have to pay me before I can release. Oh, dang it, why am I keeping that cable? Stupid cable. They have to pay me before I release the audiobook. So once I get confirmation of it, I confirm, yes, I was paid. ACX releases it, and now it goes through their whole post-production process where they check it, blah, blah, blah. Make sure it meets quality standards, which is, Amazon, it's not the greatest. Which is why I make sure that my production guys actually are way better than Amazon's. And then it boom, pops up on Audible. When you work with a publisher, though, they are doing the proofing and the production for you. So you're really only being paid as a narrator. However, Because of that, I'm not getting the prepay up front. So I am, like right now, I'm booked all the way into February. So I already know what date I'm starting with the next audiobook. And I have to prep that. But that means I have to read the book. And yes, I have actually seen in Facebook groups where people are like, oh, I don't read the manuscript before I start. I just read it because I want to be surprised with the audience. I'm like, no, you don't. You're telling a story. You are performing that story, and you need to be able to know what's coming up so that you can change the dynamics in your voice appropriately. Not that you're shocked or surprised. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna read like, and then Marianne entered the room, and the two of them stared at each other, and then she drew a knife and slit his throat. Like, nobody's gonna listen to that. you can't say that. You have to go back and do that as a pickup. So you have to read through, and this is also the time, because like I've also done some nonfiction titles where it's medical terminology. Holy cow! You do not know all of the terms until you actually have to narrate something that deals with specifically pharmaceuticals and stuff. Holy cow! But that's another thing. You are not paid for that. This is the big thing that shocks people about audiobooks. This is why I was pissed off about that, the VOD, the commercial. You are paid, if you work with a publisher, you are paid per finished hour. PFH. What that means is that all of the work you do to produce those audio files, the the prepping of the book, researching the terminology, the proper pronunciations, reading the characters, determining what their voices are by reading the book, and when it tells you, he had a deep husky voice. Okay, I need to voice this character with a deep husky voice. I got to do that. Oh, she's a valley girl. Well, I have to do that valley girl now too. Or she's like, she had a smoky voice. Deep alto, and like, then I could just drop it down here, and there's a character right there. So you need to be able to respond to that, so you differentiate the characters. That is prep. That's pre-production. That's prepping the book. Then you narrate it. It takes, no joke, at a bare minimum, I've actually got, because I've been doing audiobooks for 5 years of the 9 years I've been a voice actor. For 5 years, it's taken me to get to this point. I can average 12 pages per hour of narration. Okay? So that chapter, which usually on average, chapters are usually around 12 pages. There are some books I narrate where like it's literally 3 pages, next chapter. I'm like, oh crap, like how am I breaking this up? So that kind of throws my math formula out. But basically, I've done enough time studies of myself so that I can estimate. And that's really when I'm estimating the cost of a book for an indie, I need to know that. But I also need to know when I'm doing a publisher, because they're going to say, hey, Dex, when can you fit this book in your schedule? I'm like, okay, what do you got? They send me the total number of pages. Okay, this is a 432 page lit RPG. Okay, I know this is I do lit RPG a little better than I do a non-fic, but non-fictions tend to be more charts and stuff. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be probably closer to 13 to 14 pages per hour narration. 420. I'm already calculating it up. I'm like, okay, it's going to take me this number of days. I need a day for prep. Factor that in, and I say back to the publisher, I can start this date and I can finish on this day. How's that? Like, that works for us. Great. We'll put on the schedule. Great. They send me the manuscript. Now I have time to do that. You are not paid for any of that production work. And like I said, 12 pages for me, 12 pages per finished hour. 12 pages per hour to narrate. That on average works out between, depending on the book, 3 to 4 hours per finished hour. Okay, it's usually a 3-to-1 to 4-to-1. And that's if I'm not making mistakes. Let that sink in for a second. If it's a 10-hour finished audiobook, I have put in 30 to 40 hours of narration alone that I'm not being paid for. Okay? This is one of the biggest things when I see these misleading bullshit ads. Oh, go on ACX, do a royalty share. No, don't you? Okay, let me rephrase. Let me stop before I go off. Royalty share. Let me explain. So I've thrown out a couple terms. I didn't just define them. Per finished hour, PFH is obviously you are paid per finished hour. Pretty self-explanatory. That's what I'm talking about. If it takes me 30 to 40 hours to finish a 10-hour audiobook, I'm paid for the 10 hours. Yeah. That's why my rate, well, that's why the SAG-AFTRA rate, okay, because a lot of the publishers I work with are they're union they're union publishers. They have to. Doesn't matter if you yourself are union, they have to pay you. So the minimum is usually $250 per finished hour. So if you're doing a 10-hour audiobook, you're paid $2,500. That would make $2,500. Okay? Great. However, think about that. I put 30 to 40 hours into that book. That's a lot of time that I'm potentially losing. That's why the per finished hour rate is $250. But it's going to take me 30 days to get that money. So all that time, I'm eating the cost of everything else. I have my insurance. I've got standard monthly, the regular expenses people have in general. You have your mortgage or your lease. You've got food. You've got utilities. On top of that, because my house is so small, and it literally is across from a factory, and down the street is another factory. When I started working for the publishers, they were not accepting audio from me. I had to lease office space, unfortunately. So I now have separate business, which my taxes mean I have to do a business tax and I have to do personal tax. So on my business taxes, I have to claim the lease. So I have a business lease on top of my home mortgage. So, that's a lot. So already my expenses have shot up. So this studio, I have to pay for the lease. I have to pay for utilities. I have to pay for internet because that's separate. And then I have to actually have business insurance to cover that in case there's a fire or in case I do something to damage other people's units, Those are extra costs that are coming out of me every month, okay? That's not even including everything over here on the left, which is my mortgage, my electric, my water, gas, groceries, car insurance, car gas, all that stuff. So when I see people, and this kind of goes back to the Bayonetta controversy. When I see somebody say, "Oh, 4,000, that's more than I make in a month. She should be grateful for that. I have no sympathy for voice actors." I'm like, you say you do research, but you're ignoring all of this extra cost that we have to eat because we're independent contractors. We are not working for a company. Which, on top of it, I'm paying. Thankfully, that's the reason why I have my night job. To be blunt, that's the reason I keep it. It's because they are offering me health insurance, dental, vision, all that's for like, when I priced it out, we're talking almost 200%. Like, to pay for it myself would have cost 200% more than what I have to pay at that job. So, yeah, it's ridiculously hellish because I'm working literally 70 to 80 hours a week, but it's taken some of the stress off because I don't have to worry about those costs now. So there's a give and a take. But anyway, going back to audiobooks and voice acting. These commercials, like, and there was even articles in Business Week, which shocked me. The next big moneymaker, voice acting. It's like, well, first off, it's not next big. It's been around since even before Mel Blanc, which we're talking 60s and 70s. It's been around for decades. It's just gotten notoriety. It's just gotten attention now because, unlike when I started, which really wasn't that long ago, voice actors really weren't that well known. It was one of those things where you could get behind a microphone. It was great for people who are antisocial, like I am. Me being in front of a mic where, if I see people typing in chat, that's a lot different than me standing in front of 3-4 people and trying to have a conversation. I suck at that. So when you get to that point, oh God, I just lost my train of thought. Damn it. Oh yeah. People think this big new thing. It's not. There's all of these additional costs that never come up in the conversations. I don't think people realize that. They're just wowed by the amount. I've got one audiobook that's going to be coming up that might be close to $7,000. That's huge. Is it though? Because I'm literally losing almost 2 months because this is a massive 30 finished hour audiobook. Okay? I'm losing production time on anything else. I'm eating the cost of all of those incidentals during this production time. So by the time I'm done, that $7,000 is going to be making up all of the extra money that I just spent, and hopefully will carry me through into the next few months. So that's one of the things that's one of the things that was starting to bug me because they never talk about that stuff. They never talk about the reality of what it is to be a voice actor. So the other thing too that most people don't consider, auditions. The only reason I'm able to do this really much more full time is because since I'm doing audiobooks and I do stuff with publishers, my production schedule is already booked out months in advance. I already have stuff scheduled. But when I was doing e-learning and when I was doing corporate narration, that stuff isn't booked. It's not booked the same. I have to reach out. So I'm actually doing I have to do marketing myself, which again, I'm eating the cost for my time, which is administration time. So that's again something that none of these stupid ads ever mention, is that when you are an independent contractor, when you are a voice actor, you are your own marketing team, your own accountant. Obviously, you're the voice actor. Depending upon what they do, they might require you to do a little bit of sound engineering, clean up some of the background audio if you haven't properly treated the room, which you should, treated your space. There's a lot of hats you have to wear, and a lot of that stuff you are not paid for, okay? Whereas if I was doing this for a full-time company, I'd be paid for all that. I'd be paying an hourly wage, and they would be the ones taking the cost of waiting to be paid by their client. So, and then on top of that, trying to find business, trying to find clients, and sometimes I've had it where and you also have to try to book auditions. I had one where it was for a English dub for a math game for autistic children, which I loved doing it. I did the audition, and then never heard anything. 6 months went by. Finally, I heard back saying, "Hey, Dex, I want to let you know that we finally made a decision. We'd like to proceed with you for this character, for the character of the genie in this game. You still up for it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." But that's 6 months without knowing anything. And this is the sad part when I see on Twitter or social media and stuff, where you hear people frustrated because they're not getting castings and stuff. And I see people say, "I've been waiting like 2 months. Is that normal?" Like, baby, I waited 6 months. I actually once waited 9 months to find out whether I got a gig or not. You don't wait. You actually will, do the audition and then move on. Oh, hey, Mongo, welcome back. Math game, yeah. It was actually for a German health company. Dang it, I'm probably doxing myself. Anyway, but yeah, it was a character. I was doing the English dub for it, and it was actually really cool because I didn't have to match the lip flap, thankfully, like you would do for ADR, which is automatic dialogue replacement, which most people think of just anime dubbing. But I've done stuff for this production company in Milan where I do have to do some dubbing for English dubbing for Italian speakers. Sometimes I have to match the pace of the speaker to their mouth openings. Sometimes I don't. But yeah, it was really fun. The only thing I had to do was try to match the energy of the German the German actor, which I'm like, that's perfectly fine. It was so cool. I got to be I was so flamboyant. It was hilarious. I loved it. It was fun. But yeah, it was good, and I really felt good about it because I'm autistic myself technically, and so it was really cool to be able to do that. But it's the only video game I've actually ever done anything for. I've done for, like, there was a Skyrim mod I did for, and I did it under a pseudonym. I don't know if they actually used my audio or not. I never actually checked back on it. I don't even remember which one it was. But no, mostly, yeah, that was fun. But again, kind of going back to everything, you are auditioning and you have to move on. Oh, I didn't know that I'm autistic. Well, no, I was gonna say congratulations. That's not what you congratulate somebody for. I'm sorry. That's cool. I actually watched Haruka Caribou too, and she's talked about it as well. So it's like, that was actually the reason I got into, oh my God, here's my train of thought. That's the reason I got into acting, because I was, picked on and beaten up a lot in school and stuff. But when I got into acting, it actually taught me how to handle social interactions through the characters I was performing. So I was able to pick that up. That's the reason I got into acting. And plus, as much as I loved it, as much as I hate to say it, like most people when they hear you're an actor, they think you're a little eccentric. So it masks it and helps me to deal with some of the tics and stuff that I had when I was a kid. But yeah, that's cool. I'm glad to see a fellow in the chat here. Oh man. So yeah, I love the story she told. I actually cried knowing how I related. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it was so well done. I don't know if that. I don't think that was the one that Merriweather did, but it was a beautiful. And you could tell that she had such passion when she was doing it. It was beautiful. I loved it. Yeah. I gotta hydrate because wow, I wasn't expecting to talk straight this much. Oh man. So yeah, whenever you do voice acting, you audition and then you move on to the next audition. There's one of my coaches, and not for nothing, people that, because I see this in some voiceover groups that I'm in, both on Reddit and Facebook and stuff, and you always have a new person coming in. And the first question they always ask, which most of us who've been doing this for a while kind of just roll our eyes and like, oh, for God's sakes, this is, yeah, understandable. The first, which is the best microphone for me to use? Like, that's not the thing you need to focus on. The microphone is not going to get you the gig. It's going to be your ability as an actor to interpret the script properly. And a lot of people don't think about voice acting. They think voice is the more important. You know, I've talked to people like, oh, I have people tell me I have such a great voice and I should be in it. Like, well, cool, you know, it's great. Can you do that voice for 4 hours straight? Like what? And it's like, or like when people say, I do this mean, I do Homer Simpson, or I do the Joker like Mark Hamill. I'm like, cool. And it's like, well, they should hire me to do it. And I'm like, no, if Warner Brothers is going to be doing a Batman and they want the Mark Hamill Joker, they're literally going to hire Mark Hamill because that's his voice. And, you know, they want somebody who has proven themselves to be able to handle the long sessions, because typically at minimum, like when you're doing animation work, or if you're doing actually directed sessions for video games, at a bare minimum, I believe SAG is like a 4 hour, they try to keep it to 4 hours in the booth, because anything longer than that, you can actually cause damage to your vocal cords, especially if you're doing video games where you have to do all of the accent sounds. So when you're going, you know, you're doing all of those sounds. There are times I've heard, because I don't do too many games, but I do know some people that do, and they've, you know, I've been on calls with them, and they're like, before SAG really put, there was a strike a while ago when Blizzard and a lot of these other guys were trying to bring in non-union and were just treating them like garbage, and the pay they wanted to drop. One of the things that the SAG was fighting for was the simple fact that these studios were literally having actors, sometimes 4, 5. I even heard once of a 6 hour long of just doing, and it wasn't enough that you do a stage. So there's a stage yell where you're going, hey, dude, what are you doing? Like, I'm not actually shouting. I'm, you know, there's a way you can tighten your vocal cords to make it sound like that. They don't want that. They want full on, they want they want the full scream. And they want you to do that for like different versions of that for 3 or 4 hours. And I know, and I know some voice actors who did that, and then they had a commercial gig the next day and they had to cancel it because their voice was shot. Like, it's worse sometimes than going to a sports event or on a concert and screaming your head off, because you're doing it sustained for 3 to 4 hours. Yeah, you might have a bathroom break, you know, you might have a quick break depending on the time of the day that they're doing it, but it's brutal. It is really brutal. And, you know, that's one of the things you have to be careful of. And that's why doing indie non-union projects there's a lot more of them out there. And most companies are trying to switch over from union to non-union because they don't want to be held by the requirements that SAG has for actors. The protections that are in place, really, honestly, to protect us. They must be going through after that much hours of sessions on one part. Yeah, dude, it's even for the game that I did, I had to do that. I had to give them a whole, like, a separate voice recording. It was a separate file of the effects. Now again, that was just a math game, so it was only like 30 minutes for me to record all the different variations they wanted. But think about somebody who does an RPG like Baldur's Gate or Dragon's Age, where you're talking 100 hours to play, like Dragon's Age 3. Being one of the main characters is frightening, because if you look, I think there's been even people shown online once the NDAs are lifted. The script Bible is like sometimes 4 to 5 inches thick, and that's all of the different dialogue trees that they have to narrate, and all of the different required sound effects. And you can't just reuse, like, "Huh!" You don't do that, because then it sounds horrible. People pick that up. It's like a Wilhelm scream. You always hear the Wilhelm scream. It's like, oh yeah, ah! You know, okay. But so they want unique for every different environment. I was shadowing somebody who was actually doing it, and they were kind of demonstrating, because they were actually doing a live session. They allowed us to monitor it, and you'd always hear the guy, you'd hear the engineer, you'd hear the casting director, mic in, like, okay, that was great. Okay, now we need you to shout like you got hit, but you're actually in a tundra. Go. And so they expect you to sound like you're cold doing that. And like, okay, that's good. Can you give us one that's a little more pained? And you do it. Okay, that's good. Can you give us one like you got hit over the head with a club? Okay, we need one now where it sounds like you're actually stabbed through the chest. Okay, now how about one where you actually slit your throat? All of these different ones. And usually when you're doing, like, for that kind of stuff, they want 2 to 3 takes each. Different. So if I say, like, this is kind of getting off, but I really had nothing structured for this. I've actually thought about doing a straight VOD explaining voice acting, to kind of like say, I don't want to scare people off from doing it. If you want to be a voice actor, awesome, that's great. It's a fun career, but it's a career. And too many people, I think, have the wrong expectations. And it's not like I want to scare people off, but I want people going into this, go in with eyes wide open, But when you do 2 or 3 takes, like, just take the phrase, how are you doing? Okay. That right there is 1 take. That's just me. Nobody would use that. That's not casual. So you could say, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? 3 different ways, with 3 different intonations due to 3 different meanings. And a lot of times, you already have the preceding and the anteceding sentences. So they want 3 different versions to fit within the previous lines of dialogue too. So it could be like, how you doing? How you doing? How are you doing? Subtle differences, but nevertheless differences, characterizing different feelings, different emotions. And you have to do that for everything. Sometime, now, if you're in a directed session, like I had one. Okay, I'll tell you. I had one where I was doing it for Barilla Pasta, and we were it was a corporate narration, and it was a scratch track. So basically what they were doing, the marketing company was trying to pitch a promotional video that they wanted to do, and they kind of they had me come in, quote unquote, come in. I basically had to remote into the recording studio in Milan. They had sent me the script, so I had that on my studio here, and I was on the line with the actual script writer. So she was acting as the producer, and the sound engineer was there. So I was taking direction from them, and they said, "Okay, Dex, we would like you to do this. Now, you read the script?" I said, "Yep, I actually read it." And okay, so we want this to be confident, but we don't want this to be over dramatic. I'm like, okay, cool. So I did it, and it was kind of like the lines of like, we feel strong in what we're doing because we know and confident that we can provide the best service possible. We believe in you. We believe in ourselves, and we know that that's so that one started with that. So there was like a few minutes where it's silent because the 2 of them were conferring with each other, and you hear the click. Okay, Dex, that sounded good, but can you give us, we want to give us a little slower this next time. Okay, so I do it again. Click. Okay, Dex, that's not too bad, but can you brighten it up a little bit more? Okay, did it again. And by it was like 4 tries, and the lady on the other end, because she was also, they were letting her talk through it too, and she's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, and she starts describing the video to me, and I'm listening going, okay, you want something that's a lot more passionate. You want passion in this. And you're telling me these are, so they weren't using the proper terms. And they're like, because she's going, and I'm listening to the two of them talk to each other. Like, she's like, I don't know. I just don't, it just doesn't feel right. I just don't know if it's going to work. And I kind of jumped in and said, oh, can I just make a comment really quick? Like, sure. I was like, I have a suggestion. How about we do this one more time? And I'm actually going to do this exaggerated. Not like melodramatic, but I'm going to really accentuate things. And how about we try that? And there was a brief moment, like, all right, let's give it a shot. All right, cool. So I'm like, okay, great. So and it'd be something like, we know what we're doing. We're confident in this next plan. We know it's going to succeed. There's nothing more that can stop us. And we know that going through this plan, that coming next year, we are going to be prepared for everything that comes along. Pause. That's perfect. That's exactly what we were looking for. I'm like, thank you. Like, it took 5 tries, and it took her explaining the video to me to get me to help. And that's what it means. Like, that's the hard part about some of these different versions of voice acting. Like, with audiobooks, I would never have that. I have no feedback on that. When you're working with a publisher, they're trusting you as the professional to be able to do it, to interpret the manuscript, the authorial intent, to properly narrate the narration, the characters, to be true and honest to the accents, if any are needed. And you just send it off. And it's great. If you're working with an independent author, like I sometimes do, there's a little bit more back and forth. But like with the author team that I work with now, we trust each other. They trust me 100%. They've only had like one where they're like, could you redo this paragraph? It didn't sound quite right. Your voice is cracking. We need to get you what you're doing, but can you try it a different way? I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I just do that, and then like, yes, great, perfect. Send it back to my proofreader, send it to my producer, get the new audio file, put it up. But feedback when you're doing audiobooks is very different. However, commercial work, like whether it's a radio commercial or TV commercials, corporate narration, where like even the stuff I did for like, there was a small airline down in Texas I did one for. They even did direction sessions, like the Brilla Pasta one, like in Milan. Those directed sessions was where you are directed. They're telling you how to perform, and you have to do that without hesitation, with full confidence that you're going to do it. You cannot go, well, I don't want to do that. And amazingly enough, I have seen the aftermath of a voice actor who went in so overconfident that they pissed off the producer, they pissed off the sound engineer, everybody in that room, because this person was like, well, I'm the actor, you need to trust me. I know what's right, and I'm going to do this. And they ad-lib part of it. No. The ad-lib is not a thing. Now, here's the thing. Like, if you're doing, like, animation work, okay, and you get to the point, like, Frank Castellaneta, who did, I think, Homer Simpson, or Kath Soucie, or any other the pro voice actors who've been doing it for 20 years, there's way more of a back and forth. And it really depends also on who the producer is, because sometimes they want the actor to contribute a little bit to it. But you're not rewriting the whole script. You have to go off of the script, and you have to make that your own. And again, none of these commercials that I see ever talk about the reality of what a production section is like, or what you are going to be facing with the auditions. And it just pissed me off so much, because I see these things. And there was another group. They call themselves the Mickelson twins. If anybody that watches this, anybody who's lurking, anybody that sees this VOD afterwards, if you hear Mickelson twins, run. Do not listen to these guys, because they are scammers. Like literal scammers. Especially considering the fact that their promo, because they're trying to sell you their plan, their lesson, their process of how to passive income. I swear to God, if I hear the word passive income, I'm gonna punch somebody again. Not that I ever did. I shouldn't say it again. But passive income doesn't exist. The examples, and the only thing passive income comes from is like, say, you write a book, you get it narrated, and you put it out there. You might make income coming in a month, but that's because people are buying your book, which is exactly how the market works. You know, that's not passive. You engaged in it. These kids are trying, and they're pretty much kids anyway. They're trying to sell you that, okay, if you want to, wait, the what twin? The Mickelson twins. The Mickelson twins, hang on. It's called the Mickelson method. This is me warning you. Hang on, let me switch over. I don't have the chat over there, but I'll take a chance on it. I haven't seen any bots come in. Chatting streams don't seem to have to worry about the porn bots and stuff. Let's see. I need my window capture properties. I want to do. Yeah, there we go. All right. I like that. It's bullshit. Exactly. So let me see. Is there any? Not Mads Mikkelsen. No, wait. This is Mads Mikkelsen. This isn't the Mikkelsen twins. Oh. Yeah. Are they legit or fake? These guys are 100% fake. They're bullshit. These are the guys right here. If you ever see anything by, yeah, the first page. Mads Mikkelsen's a good actor too. I will say, like, you know, but it's just kind of funny. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to put the Mickelson twins. If you see anything from these guys, run. I don't care who you are. Yeah, this right here, the Freedom Shortcut bullshit. Run. Do not listen to them. They want to charge you $2,000 to, quote unquote, learn about this untold secret from Amazon called, wait for it, Audible. Yeah. They think Audible is the untapped secret of Amazon. Let that sink in. These shits are trying to tell people that making an audiobook on Audible is unheard of. Yes. 2,000 to learn. Yeah. And oh my God. There's a VOD on YouTube. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it. Put out by Dan Larson. The guy, I'm going to tell you this right now. Holding ideas. I watched some of his VODs and he does some great stuff. Wait, there it was. This right here. Prove the haters wrong. I'd heard about these kids, but I hadn't had the chance to look at it. He actually explains the method, and it pissed me off because these shits, and I'm sorry, this is where I'm going to start. This is where the 18 plus comes in on the Sake Time stream. These little shits had the gall. This is their process. Their process is that and I'm not saying you, I'm saying anybody who basically wants to make passive income. I'm making air quotes. You can't see it because I don't have an avatar that does air quotes. I really wish I could. Passive income by hiring a ghostwriter, okay, which is fine. Ghostwriters are fine. However, they want you to use this cheap-ass one, which literally charges like $200 for like a 8,000 word book, okay? They are literally charging these poor writers who are doing this ghostwriting 2 cents a word. 2 fucking cents a word. That person was like, it's so far below minimum wage, it's disgusting. And they had a month to write 8,000 words for $200 fucking dollars. And that's just to get the book. And that's their method. They want you to hire some poor schlub. I shouldn't say schlub. I'm sorry. That's not right. Because these people are way better than what they're doing. These writers deserve more. They absolutely. It's the gig economy. And ironically enough, I'm kind of a part of it. But thankfully, I've been doing it enough. I'm contracted with professional clients that I don't have to deal with this. I remember when I started getting suckered in, and I talked about that earlier in the stream. You got to be so fucking careful in this shit. And assholes like this, they scam people. And by not only that, they're trying to sell you to use this other company that scams these poor writers who are barely making $200 a fucking month working for that group. And then the second part of the Mickelson method is you take that manuscript that you've been given that poor person worked, and this is the thing, that 1 month to turn in 8,000 words is not enough to do research. So this is where you start finding those bullshit nonfiction titles like, mindfulness, the gateway to happiness. Learn the power of persuasion. Bullshit like those titles that you see like just flooding Audible. You see on Amazon all these stupid nonfiction titles that they're like, this is I went okay. I'll go into it because this kind of dovetails into it because I'm kind of I'm starting to get pissed. Oh God. So the next part of it is you take that manuscript, you go to ACX, which I mentioned before is Audible Creation Exchange. It's Audible's backdoor for production, and it's kind of like, it's like a casting site too, which just sucks. But it works. It's okay. You post your manuscript there and say, I want to hire a narrator to narrate the audiobook I quote unquote wrote. Okay. Then, and these little shits in their video tell people, now, it doesn't matter what the narrator quotes you. What they say their rate is, you need to fucking lowball them. So they were showing in the video, oh my God, I wanted to punch the kid every time he was talking. How he was like sending an email to the narrator on ACX. Hey, I know you said that you're willing to do this for $100 per finished hour. Are you willing to do $20? I'm like, he posted his rate, and you're fucking lowballing him that much? You want to charge? You want him to do it for 25% less than what he says he needs? Because the thing with ACX, here's the thing: ACX is indie. It's independent. You have to proof and produce those files yourself. Everything I do for Tantor, Gildan, or now Ascent Audio, Christian Audio, the publishers, they do that themselves. But when you do through ACX, you have to cover those costs. And I talked about this earlier. And they expect that poor narrator, who's really more of a project manager when you do through ACX, they want them to do all of that work, the proofing, the narration, the prepping the book, the narration, the proofing of it, and the production for $25 fucking an hour. And most of these books only account for 2 hours, 2 finished hours. At best, that narrator is going to make $50. And I'll tell you right now, the proofers I work with, at a bare minimum, the proofer alone, this is just the person who, listens to my audio files, each chapter, has the manuscript, and they're the ones that go through and make sure that I'm saying exactly what the manuscript says. They alone are $35 per finished hour. Minimum. Okay? Already, that person's budget gone if he is going to try to hire. He can't hire. He cannot hire the proofer. Can't hire the proofer because literally the per finished hour for that proofer, he's not going to negotiate. He's not. He's got plenty of clients. So he's like, fuck that. I ain't doing that. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Charge the proofer $5 an hour? And it's not. Wait, hang on. I'm sorry, Manga. Funny that I'm sipping on some tea because damn, you're really spilling some serious. I got to be careful because oh my God, I'm trying not to get on a soapbox, but when I see people scamming in an industry I work, it infuriates me so much because I hate seeing people getting scammed like this. Because I did it. I got scammed the first year I did voice acting. And I hate it. I almost swore off audiobooks completely. And it wasn't until I actually got hooked up with a legitimate author that paid me a fair per finished hour rate that I finally understood and I could take it seriously. And it became my bread and butter. Okay? If I had hooked up with these little shits, I never would have gone back to ACX. I'll tell you that right now. And the thing is, $25 even if it's like $40 a finished hour, which I'm pretty sure in the video they were trying to hire for 25 finished hour. Yeah, 25 per hour. And it's not 25 per hour though, manga. It's 25 per finished hour. Okay? That means, like earlier I explained, I don't know if you joined yet, but I explained that when I narrate an audiobook, I have time studied it. Usually I can narrate 12 pages per hour. Okay? That's just narration. That's not fixing. That's not production. That's not making the files. That's just narrating it. Okay? It can take anywhere from, which when you work it out, it's like 3-to-1 to a 4-to-1 hourly difference. So for every 1 hour in an audiobook, it can take me anywhere from 3 hours to 4 hours to narrate that fully. Because I'll tell you this right now, a 12-page chapter, more often than not, is around 20 minutes alone finished. Okay, and that can take me upwards of 45 to 60 minutes, depending on how many mistakes I make narrating that. Just that one chapter alone. And some chapters are usually like 14, 15, especially in like a lot of the lit RPGs I narrate. They can be long chapters. Nonfiction titles can be long too, but a lot of times they actually have graphs and charts, so it's a little deceptive. But professional. Yeah, don't worry, manga. It's okay. It's one of those things you can easily, because nobody. I mean, if you work for a full-time company, you're not thinking in per finished hour. There's no such thing. You're just per hour, you know? But that's the deception. For audiobook narration, it's per finished hour. For other voice acting, like like I said, when I'm doing corporate, commercial, or e-learning, that's usually I'm paid for my time in the booth per hour. Which and I'm very picky on who I work with, because I've had a local company to where I live scam me and was way undercutting me for the clients they were, and it pissed me off, and I dropped them. Especially, side story tangent, really quick. The last time I worked for this company, oh my god, I was there to do an e-learning for was it BMW or Mercedes-Benz, for dealerships. They had released some new software, and it was for the dealership management software. So I was there to narrate it for the e-learning, which is kind of cool. It's nice because they're relatively short, and the script is presented like, you know, screen 1, screen 2, screen 3, screen 4. You're told what's on the screen, and here's what you have to narrate. So I'm in the booth. On the other side of the glass is the engineer, and for these ones, I didn't have to worry about a producer trying to say, okay, that's great, but can you give us a little bit? You know, none of that stuff. The engineer would sometimes do that. Damn, I keep hitting the cable. The engineer would sometimes do that, but that's more because he was trying to give himself a couple extra takes depending upon what the final client wanted. So he didn't need to call me back in for re-records, which I'm fine with. Most of the time it was like, I'd gotten to the point where it was like 20, 30 minutes. And thankfully I was charged for a full hour. I always had a minimum hour studio fee, minimum hour. So I went into this place, and I was there 20 minutes early. So I was there 20 minutes early, and I'm sitting out in the lobby. There's no receptionist. It was almost kind of like a house, but it wasn't. They decorated. So I was sitting on the love seat in the waiting room, and everybody had their doors open, and down the hall. So there was like about 4 or 6 offices, 3 on each side. There was a little kitchenette, and the recording rooms were down on the other end of the hall. So they had like 2, I think at the time they had 2 studios. So they had 2 sound booths with 2 recording rooms. So that's where the engineer sits. And I'm sitting there waiting. I'm just kind of looking through the manuscript that they had sent to me, just refreshing myself. And I'm listening, because you hear. So they had account managers and they had the engineers. So the account manager was like upstairs, and the sound engineer were down where I was. And I heard the guy that I was working with, because I knew his voice, obviously, because he talked on the mic for all the time. And he was talking to an account manager, and I could hear the account manager too. So the account manager goes, and the engineer goes, who are we going to hire for this particular project coming up? And the account manager says, okay, well, let's hire so-and-so. They're cheap. They'll do it for cheap. And I said, and they, of course, they didn't say it dramatically like that. They were just casually saying, oh yeah, she'll do it for cheap, so we don't have to charge her that much for that. So I would offer her first. She'll come in for that. And I'm sitting there listening to them lowball a fellow voice actor. And I just sat there going, oh, I was biting my tongue. And the best part was, he was like, okay, no problem. I heard the phone, and they were talking. And then I heard somebody chair move, and one of the other guys came out of one of the offices, turns to the left and sees me sitting there, and I'm just looking at him. And he looks back. He's like, the expression on his face, he's like, oh shit. I didn't have to say a word. I'm just sitting there listening to them. And he's like, oh shit. He goes right to the office where the engineer I work with was. He goes, dude, he's like, hey, I can't remember the guy's name. He's like, hey, Mark, your actor's here. your talent's here. There was like silence from the room. And the guy did what he had really got up for. He kind of went, hey, how's it going? I'm just like, I just looked at him and said, raised my hand like an acknowledging, like wave, and just nodded. There was scrambling in the office. Mark pops his head out and he's like, oh, hey Dex, how you doing? Didn't know you were here. Hey, we're ready for just a minute. I'm like, okay, sure. I didn't say a word because, again, like I said earlier, you need to be professional. You never know who's going to talk to who. And I did the recording. They were very magnanimous with me. They were really nice, really wonderful this time. And not long after that, I got an email with a spreadsheet on it, and they say, hey, Dex, can you? We'd like to update our records on what your hourly rate is. Could you send that to us? I don't know if it was legit, but the fact it was like 2 weeks later, and I got this spreadsheet. I looked at this thing. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me, you sons of bitches? Oh my God. I'm sorry, everybody. Anybody who's listening, I'm going to have to put like a disclaimer at the beginning. It's like Dex is going to go off the hinge at the end. Oh my God. But I gave them the full rate. Like they were telling me, because it was weird. I really wasn't picking up on what they were doing at the time because they were nice people. I liked working with them, and the clients were good. I did stuff for the Navy. I was doing stuff for BMW, Mercedes, like not commercial, but like software. Like I said, they had their dealership software updates. I was doing that. I did something for a Sustainable Institute. That was a 12 learning module. It was great. But I never picked up on the fact that they were giving me a project total. Like, hey, Dex, we got this thing. It's not too long. We're only expecting it to be like about 5-10 minutes. You willing to do this for like $200, $300? And I'm like, yeah, I can justify the gas for that. Sure, why not? Sure. It wasn't until after that call that I went back through my records and started calculating. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You guys have been charging. Like, I have no idea what the budget the client was giving. That's the thing too. Oh my God. Oh, another rant. Sorry. I really was not expecting to do this. I was expecting to do Duolingo. Anybody, I apologize. Anybody who thought I was going to be doing Duolingo, I apologize. Oh, God. I can say it because it's not going to get them SEO. Voices.com. Do not use them. Do not use them. They are a casting site. And a lot of people think that they need to start on a casting site. Because there's a corporate mentality, you start at the mailroom and work your way up to the CEO kind of thing like that. And people think voice acting is like that. That's not the case at all. There's a reason why SAG has defined minimum rates. You should, if you think you are good enough to charge people for your performance and your work, you should be charging the minimum rates. Because that's what, based upon the amount of work that goes into it, that's the minimum you should be getting, because everyone who's come before knows how much work it is, how much effort, how much time, how much of a strain on the voice it can be. This is what you should be charging. But unfortunately nowadays, ever since sites like Voice123, Voices.com came up, the lowballing has happened. And it went from, and I watched it because I was actually on one of the sites. And it was where I got scammed the first time, ironically enough. But I watched the rates just go straight down. Just straight down. Freaking hell. I even had that when I was a graphic designer. I was an indie graphic designer, independent graphic designer for almost 20 years. Okay. There was overlap between graphic design and voice acting. And even like now for the other company, I still do some graphic design because I do user interface design on the software we're developing. So there's overlap there. It's nice to actually use my degree for something, you know. But even as a graphic designer, when sites like Odesk, Freelancer, all these, you know, job posting sites popped up, all of a sudden, you know, at the time, I was doing corporate ID designs, so corporate identification design. That's where you design the logo, you design how the logo is used, where it's used, the colors that are needed to be used to replicate this in print. So you do the Pantone colors, you define where its placement is on the letterhead. So you kind of do a little bit of letterhead design inside the visual standards guide. So you're providing a book that is used by their marketing team to say this is how the logo should be used on buildings, on promotional material, in TV, on billboards, all that stuff. And that shit takes time, because not only was I also doing the design work of the book, doing the logo design first, obviously, because I needed the corporate colors, I needed to have that, the overall design of the logo, which fits into the design, the page layout design of the book. I was also doing trademark research because I needed to make sure I wasn't accidentally copying somebody else's work. Because again, copyright's a huge thing. We're talking copyright and trademark. So it would sometimes take me 3 months to do a full corporate ID book, 3 to 4 months. And I was on average charging around, at the time, $10,000, $12,000, because that's the only project I was working on for those months. And again, same thing as voice acting. I had all these overhead costs that I was, and on top of the normal incidental stuff that everybody has. So that was a decent rate for me to work freelancer and, you know, not go bankrupt or not, you know, be homeless. But when these sites came out, I started seeing really fast. I was suddenly competing against countries where the standard of living is drastically lower than the United States. So all of a sudden, I was seeing people in, you know, the Ukraine, Romania, India, Pakistan. Something that I was literally charging $10,000 to $12,000. They were charging, and it made me sick. They were charging $500, but they weren't giving them the standards guides and all that. They were just giving them a logo. But it's one of those things where the realization hit the moment these sites popped up. Sure, it's globalization. It's putting out there. The problem is it doesn't take into account living standards in countries, you know. And for some of these people, getting that is like huge, you know. But when you live in like the United States, the standard of living, the cost of living is way higher than like in Calcutta, you know. So it was one of those things where it's kind of like I suddenly watched the rates. I think when those sites came out, they first started at like $2,000. The lowest was I was seeing. Didn't even take a year for those prices to hit $300. Like I just watched it drop. And the sites don't give a shit. They're taking money off of the posting because people are paying subscription fees. Again, freaking subscription crap. That's where they're making their money. They don't care about, you know, the designer. They don't care about the client. They just want their money, and they're getting their money. So Voices.com, Voice123 are similar to that. And the funny thing was, I started doing voice acting after I kind of took a break from graphic design. And I jumped on Voice123 just to see what it was like, and I got scammed the first time. But I kind of already had, going into voice acting, an idea of what the SAG rates were. There was a great group of voice actors who banded together, and they created the Global Voice Acting Academy, the GVAA. They actually had a pricing guide that they put out, that they collaborated with everybody across the world, across the United States, I should say. They had international versions too, and they created a pricing guide, which was great. Graphic design didn't really have that. The Graphic Designer Guild had a pricing guideline, but that was locked behind a paywall. They wouldn't set that for everybody, which was stupid. But GVA put that out there for voice actors. Like, so you knew that if you were doing a radio commercial that was regional, so not tri-state, but regional to that, you know, to your county or that, you know, and it's going to be playing, because again, playtime is important. That determines your rate. Like, how much playtime is it going to get? Is it going to run for a month? Is it going to run for 6 months? Is this 120-second commercial going to be running for a year? That changes the price. And they had actually had that all calculated on there for you. Was this a small company? Was this a nationwide chain? Was this a big multinational corporation that this is? And the reason why the price is different is because there's different procedures, but also the big thing, a lot of these companies have non-compete clauses. So let's say as a voice actor, I was picked to be the voice for BMW on their TV commercials. Do you think BMW is going to be happy with me then suddenly turning around and voicing for Mercedes-Benz or Chevy? No. When you sign, they are expecting you to exclusively voice, they narrate the promos for their stuff only. So that has to be baked in to the cost of the work, because you are cutting yourself off. And a lot of times, you're potentially cutting yourself off for 3 years, because it really depends. A lot of times these will pop up, they'll reuse commercials, they'll reuse footage or audio sometimes. That's the reason why prices are different for like a small, like a local mattress store. You're not going to charge them the same as you would for, say, BMW, because again, reach is different. The length that they're going to be using that for, and most of the time commercials for like these local companies are just like a once and done. They use them once and it's done. They move on to the next thing. But big multinational companies can reuse that in different areas. They can bring that back out. They can tweak it a bit. They can edit the video and change it up for something else. And I've seen them where they splice, trim your narration. They trim out a part that's specific to that time of the year, and all of a sudden it's a generalized thing. You have to watch that stuff as a voice actor, because now all of a sudden they're changing and they're editing. So that's a new project. And that's when I would send an email to say, or send a letter, an email saying, hey, I just noticed that on this time, this day, on this channel, there was a commercial run, or maybe it's on YouTube, or on, I saw this run. That's my voice. That's what I narrate, but that's not what we talked about the usage for. That's a completely different thing. We need to renegotiate here. And more oftentimes they were like, oh yeah, okay, sorry about that, we forgot. They didn't really think about it. Most companies don't. I've never had it, but I do have some friends who did, where they actually had to sue. They actually had to take them to court. And that's the hard part. When you're an independent contractor, those legal costs are way more brutal than they are for a multinational corporation. Hell, even for sometimes like a tri-county, tri-county company is going to have bigger, deeper pockets than you as an independent contractor, So, oh my God. Whew. So, my goodness, yeah. There is so much. This is why I was like, I saw when my when my old high school friends sent me that VOD saying, hey Dex, aren't you a voice actor? What do you think about this? And thankfully it wasn't the Mickelson twins. But it was some other ass. I really wanted to reach through the screen and throttle him. I'm like, dude, you are lying to people. Stop it. Stop lying, please. Tell people. And that's the thing. And it's frustrating too, because I'm in voice acting groups and stuff like that, and I don't post much. It's like when I watch other streams and stuff, I lurk more than anything else. And you see these people and these newbies come in, and they're fixated on the equipment. What mic is going to make me sound good? Do I need a preamp? What interface should I use? And all of us who've been doing this for longer than 4 years, sure, I've been doing it 9 years, but I know like Bob Bergens is in some of these. He's been doing this shit for over almost 30 years. If anybody is going to be able to give you experience, you listen to him. And I have watched these newbies diss on him because he was honest and said, the microphone is not the important thing. You need to learn how to act. You need to make sure that you know how to interpret a script. And that's not just throwing shade. That's not being insulting. That's not being derogatory or anything like that. It's legitimately the truth. You have to narrate whatever you're doing, whether it's an e-learning script, a commercial, an audiobook. You have to narrate that as if it's your voice talking. You have to be convincing. You have to envision in your mind, who are you talking to when you're saying these words? So like if I'm trying to sell somebody on a Rolex, the script might say something like, Rolex is the best brand in the world because they have a time-honored tradition of quality. If I said it like that, nobody's going to listen to me. The commercial's going to flop. I'm going to be losing. I'm literally going to be blackballed. And blackballing is a thing, too. I'm telling you this right now. I have watched the emails go out. I've been on the receiving end from SAG blackballing. Holy cow. That's scary. When you see do not work with. Oh, man. That's brutal. But even on the Facebook groups, I have seen people talk about new voice actors who were so rude and dismissive of people trying to give them good advice. The thing is, this is kind of deviating a little bit, I know. The thing is, when you're a voice actor, every other voice actor is not your competition. I know it's weird to say that, but that's the hang on. Try explaining the Mickelson twins to that old friend of yours that they didn't already know. No, they don't know. They don't. Because and I didn't say anything because I was so pissed off when I saw this guy. Because this wasn't one of those like I'm going to sell you he was going to try to sell you on quote unquote coaching to guarantee you work. Like, oh my God, no, any coach that says I can guarantee you're going to be getting voiceover jobs at the end by 3 months, bullshit. Fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. It is going to take you. It took me 3 years to actually get to the point where I could actually afford to lease office space. And I still didn't even do that until I was doing audiobooks on the reg, where I was booking myself 6 months, 7 months ahead from like the publishers. Then I was like, okay, this is happening. Now I can do this. I have to now do this as a business now. Whereas I was doing it from home, I was still doing it full time, but when you're home, it's a different feel. But this guy, he was trying to sell his course, again, another course. But this is one of the more normal bullshit coaching things. I mean, if anybody ever wanted, I could put the list of coaches I've used, because these are people who at a minimum have been doing the work for 10 years and they are still working. That's the thing. You need to, if you want to get into acting, because here's the thing, voice acting. Audiobooks may call it narration, but you're still a voice actor. You're performing. If you're reading a commercial script, you are acting, because like I started demonstrating the Rolex thing, you have to convince somebody that you're talking to them, that you're trying. So like if I'm reading a script for a commercial, I envision who in my family or who in my friends might be interested in what I'm trying to sell them on. Okay, it's my dad. Okay, cool. And I'll narrate it, or I'll voice it like I'm talking to him, because a lot of times people want conversational nowadays. So I might say, Rolex is actually one of the best in the world because of the quality and the time-honored tradition that they have. Like, their dedication to quality is unparalleled. There was a little bit of an acting at the end there. I'd probably do 2 or 3 takes after that. But it's something like that, whereas before it's like, Rolex is one of the, like, this is the announcer voice is what it used to be. Yeah, and all of those correlate into one. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it was just another one of those guys trying to sell a scam, and it's as bad as, this is one of those things where I was surprised when I actually had to tell people, like Business Insider, I think it was, Business Week, there was 3 or 4 business magazines, which are usually like, I think one of them might have been Inc. These are big ones that are like usually trustworthy, and they were posting these stupid things like a few years ago, before everything that happened over the last couple of years. The next big thing in easy money. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's not easy money at all. You're working for yourself. That's the reality. That's the reality nobody wants to think about. You are working for yourself, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. So, oh God, my face is all red. My face is hot. Oh man, wow. I really was not expecting to go all off on that. Man, hang on, I made drink. And I finished all that bottle of Vita Wem. Oh God. But yeah, it's seeing that just really, really just irked me, because it reminded me of everything I saw after the Bayonetta incident, and all that tea spilling really giving you some of that heated. Yeah, yes, you are 100% correct. Oh man, and the worst part is I got to do some narration after this too. That's I gotta take a. Once I'm done with the stream, I'm gonna have to rest my voice for a little bit before I can go back into it. Oh my God. Oh, because I'm doing a lit RPG again, so it's like this guy. I love narrating for this guy, but some of his dialogue just isn't natural a lot, which is unfortunate because I love his stories. But anyway, and I know it's weird me talking about because I don't know manga if you've seen any of my lot, but I intentionally do not quote unquote dox myself, which is strange because most people there's a lot of voice actors like Amalie and Takahata and stuff like. They absolutely tell their audiences know their voice, they do voice acting and stuff like that, and yet I really weighed whether or not to actually do it. So my compromise was I do want to talk about stuff like this because I think it's important, and sometimes I do want to share some of the work I do, not necessarily specifically the work, but what goes into it because it's fun and I like talking about it. So I'm passionate about it, but I want to succeed as a streamer because I'm a good streamer, not because of and Sayu. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sayu. I can't remember all of them. Like, there's a bunch of them out there. Like, oh god, Absolute Unit I think is one too. I think he does anime dubbing. Oh god, I just discovered him and I was like, oh wow, okay, this might be a bit more than I was expecting. But they all are like open, like, oh yeah, I did voice. This is project. I'm doing this project coming up. This, which okay. Quick aside, if you ever get into voice acting and you sign an NDA, fucking keep your mouth shut. Okay? Do not go on social media and post, hey guys, I got hired for this. Look where I am. And you're taking a selfie in front of a studio saying, I can't tell you what it is, but I'm excited to let you know. Because I literally saw somebody do that. 2 days later, they were fired. Why? Because they signed a freaking non-disclosure agreement, which means you shut up until the whole production is done and the NDA is lifted, because they're trying to keep it quiet. They don't want their competition to know what's coming up, and they also don't want set expectations with the fans and stuff. That guy proved in 1 second. Was it? No, it wasn't 10. No, it wasn't her. It was a guy. It was a guy. Yeah. He proved in 1 second, or in one post, that he is untrustworthy. It means nothing when he signs a contract. Okay? And that there is no reason to trust him with anything. And it doesn't matter how good of an actor you are. You do that, you are showing these companies you cannot be trusted with any contract. So they're not going to work with you. And the worst part is I was not close friends with him, but I met him in a couple conferences. So we messaged once in a while. It was hard seeing some of the notifications going out in groups. Do not work with this actor. Like, it was hard. I felt bad for him, and he was in those groups too. So he saw it, and I was like, and I know it sounds harsh. I know it does. But it's the same thing as like when a lot of these companies go to these production companies go to conferences and they're talking to each other. It's the same thing as like being on the phone with somebody and saying, dude, you're not gonna believe this guy I just worked with. This idiot actually just mouthed off and did this. Like, he just refused to even do what I was telling him to do. He talked back to me all this time. Like, just be careful. It's that thing. And honestly, I'm not surprised companies do that, because if you spend, like I said, it took 6 months for one of the gigs I auditioned for. If it takes them 6 months to decide on who they're going to tether for their casting, and then this dipshit goes and does something like that, and I shouldn't say that. I don't really talk to him much anymore because he pretty much was like wiped out after that. I just didn't have the time to talk to people anymore. Unfortunately, I should see how he's doing. But anyway, his business was done. He couldn't work anymore. But think about it. Like, if they spent 6 months trying to find the perfect voice for their character, and you go and do something like that, you now have just cost them 6 months. They're going to be pissed off. So, anybody out there, I don't hide the fact I'm middle-aged. I'm in my 40s. I laugh when I watch Vesper Noir, because everybody calls him Grandpire, and I'm like, he's even said he's in his 30s. I'm like, dude, I got you beat, man. But I'm also on social media. I'm one of those few that actually cares about learning about technology, keeping up on things and trends. I love it when I blow people's mind that I actually know about OnlyFans or about, Markiplier. I put that one VOD out. Like, how do you know about this guy? I'm like, because I keep my eyes open and I'm interested in things that pop up on my feed. That's what I do. I got to be up on this stuff because, that's the thing too. Like when you're doing, so I've had it where people will refer 6 months of production down the drain for a port. Yeah, exactly. For one post cost that, and I'm not going to say who the studio was because I don't want to dredge it up for him, but one post cost him his gig and cost that production studio 6 months of audition and going over the auditions. And now they had to actually reach out to their second one, and they still had to decide if they wanted to go with the second one. I don't know what happened after that. I didn't audition for it, but Graham Silvestri, he absolutely is. Graham Silvestri, he's spectacular. I was so happy to see him come back because I'm not going to say who he was because that's like the unspoken rule. But I subbed to him when he was independent. He was so good. He did the Batsu streams amazingly. Like that's one of the things I never thought that I'd be doing like this, chatting, because believe it or not, I am very antisocial in person, in IRL. God, it's getting late. I really should end the stream, but I'll tell you, I'll leave you with another story. Like I mentioned, APAC, which is the Audio Publishers Association Conference. Slurring, sorry. Audio Publishers Association Conference. It's a one-day conference in New York City. Where it's primarily the book fair happens with it too, but it's strictly like the audiobook publishers will go to this conference. Narrators will go to it. It's like one day, but it's an all-day thing. They usually have a social the day before, where for a while it was at this restaurant that was in a basin in the north part of Manhattan. I can't remember what it was. It was a really nice place. It was always catered. You had to dress up a little bit. But I was always so scared because I do not handle groups well at all. Maybe it's the autism, I'm not sure. But it's one of those things where my social anxiety kicks in and I'm just like terrified. But thankfully I've gotten to the point now I know a bunch of voice actors, so when I see them I'm like, hey, how's it going? And I finally have somebody to actually start talking to. I can calm myself down. But that is nothing compared to the end of APAC, where at the end of the day there's this champagne social. And at least when they were doing it in person. I guess next year they're going to be doing it in person again. I don't know. I got a lot of debt, so we're going to see if I can actually make it or not. But so you're there. You go through all the workshops. You have the chance to talk with publishers. You meet them, kind of socialize. Because again, like I said way earlier, publishers do not want to work with people they don't know. They want to meet you. They want to get to know you. They want to make sure that you can be trusted, It's one of the few that are really old-fashioned in that way. So the Champagne Social usually runs like an hour, like 2 hours at the end. And yeah, it's really out. The booze comes out, and we're in the Javits Center. And we're up. If you've ever been to New York City in the Javits Center, there is it's 3 floors, I think. We're on the 3rd floor, and they sequester us off on the 3rd floor. And so there's usually several hundred people that come to the APAC. And the social is relegated to the 3rd floor. But not the whole 3rd floor. Oh no. It is literally in a... Oh my god. Oh god. It's 30 to 50 feet wide by the length of the floor. Oh my god. It might be a little bigger, but it's not much bigger than a banquet room, like a half-size banquet room. We have the whole floor, but they're putting several hundred people in this tiny area, and they curtain it off. They bring the champagne out. They got wine. Usually they have red wine, white wine. They have champagne. They do some beer occasionally, and then you have, of course, the little snacks and stuff. Oh my god, I will stand on the outside and just look at the inside of all those people and just frozen, locked up, just I don't know, I can't go in there. And it takes so much. Oh, bro, I relate with a lot. I do get those moments where I can be socially awkward. Yeah, this is that by 1,000%. And it's just oh god, too many people. Because you have to go into that. You have to go into that to get to the booze. And I'm like, I could use a wine right now, but oh my God, I'd have to go in there. And I finally do work up the nerve. And the hard part too is those people I know, they're mixed in with all these several hundred people. And it's like, I'm like, do I know anybody? Please tell me I know somebody. Do I know anybody? Anybody? Like, Aubrey, Lindsay, where are you? Anybody? Hello? Hi? Okay, Scott? Anybody? Please? And I'm just kind of like arms tucked in, like right up, pushing my way through, like, oh God, I just need to get there. And then the worst part is you got to wait. And the wait staff, they'll stare at you until you say something. And I'm just kind of like, what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? Do I say something? What do I say? Like, can I have one of those? Can I have red wine, please? Like, okay. And they're like, yeah, dude, it's okay. Here you go. Like, thank you. Boom, right out of the crowd. I'm right back to the wall. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I'm shaking, like drinking. I'm like, oh God. Need more. Oh my God. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm gonna be real. I was gonna hit up New York City for the first time in summer months ago, but some personal stuff happened and we had to cancel our trip. I hear ya, man. I've been twice, and it's funny. I never really thought I was gonna like New York City until I actually went there, and I'm like, this is not a bad place, I don't know if I would want to live there, but it does have some moments. Like I went to a couple comic shops that I'd only heard about. It was awesome, the food was good. There was this one breakfast place like on Times Square I went to because a few of my friends who were in areas, they're like, you have to try the pancakes at this place. It's amazing. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. You go there, and the prices weren't too bad either. Like, that's the thing. If you do go to New York City, do not go to the chains. I know it's tempting, but don't go to the chains. Ask around and go to some off-the-beat places. I'll tell you, there was one when I was working for Apple. I had to travel for them, and I had to go to New York City as an SME, a subject matter expert on some software I wrote documentation for. And they put me up in the hotel that was near Central Park. So already I felt like really awkward. It says, nervously orders, gets the order, dashes out, Sonic style. Say, finally that part's over. Yeah, exactly. Until you realize you didn't grab any of the hors d'oeuvres and you're like, shit! Like, oh my God, do I have to go back in there? Really? Oh man, I don't want to go back in there. But anyway, they put, going back, I can't remember the name of the hotel. It was this ritzy kind of place. And I was like, I didn't have to pay for it. I don't care. It's fine. They'd screwed up my reservation, so they put me on the 40th floor. It was surprising. It was nice. There's a way of apologizing. I'm like, dude, it ain't my money. I ain't paying for this. I can't afford this place. And I was there for I was going to be there for like 3 or 4 nights because it was a couple, I was meeting with managers and stuff, and I had to explain to them the software and stuff. But I went, I walked around and I went and I found this. I like steak. I'll tell you, not a vegan. I am trying to curb more. I couldn't do vegan. I'm trying to do a little bit more like plants. I'm trying to cut sugar out of my diet. Oh my God, living in the United States, sugar, forget it. Sugar's in everything. Forget hell, sugar's in the bread. Like why the heck? Oh my God. Like I have to find specific bread that's baked locally in the grocery store to make sure that there's no sugar in that shit. Like really. I think I even looked over like, I don't eat bologna anymore, but I looked at it once. I'm like, why is there corn syrup in the bologna? Seriously? Like, what the hell? I'm sure people, when they see me in the grocery store and I'm walking, like, corn syrup. Why is this in here? Like, why is it in the milk? Why is it in milk? What the hell? But anyway, so I'm trying to cut that out. But I do like steak. And I found on the side street where the hotel was, there was a steakhouse, and I pulled up on Yelp, and they said it was really great, but they said it was like 3 for price. It was like 3 out of 4 stars, and I'm like, I do have a budget. They're gonna comp me back for food. I'm like, all right. So I went there. Oh my God, I wish I had asked somebody if this was a good place because the food was decent, but holy freaking hell, the side dish, priced separate than the entree. And I wanted a prime rib. I wanted a nice 12-ounce prime rib and I went for steak. At the time, this was years ago, and I went for steak fries and broccoli. All that stuff individually priced. The drink was separate. I walked out having spent almost $200 for that meal, and I'm like, nope, nope. So I went, and that's when I started asking. Like the hotel staff. I said, hey, you got any good places that I can get a steak but not too expensive? We're like, oh yeah, try this one. And when I went to APAC, I was staying at, what is it? It's this weird hotel that's it feels like IKEA opened up a hotel chain. God, is it a loft? Is that what it is? No, New York City. Hang on. I've been trying to remember the name of this place for so long, and I cannot. The price isn't too bad. APAC goes there. Hilton, Hampton, Blakely, Manhattan, Luxury Hotel 5th. For your Pod 51? No, it's not that. Frederick Doubletree, Radio, Hilton, Holiday Club, Pod 39, no. Wyndham, Apartment, Ocean, Blackhawks, no. No. Arlo? Okay. Public, Chelsea, the One Boutique. Jeez, where the hell? Maybe I can't. Yotel! That's it. Yotel. Okay, so I've stayed at Yotel. Decent hotel, and I've gotten some darn good prices, for New York City. But it is really, really IKEA-like. So it's really minimalist design. They did have actually, I think they had a restaurant. They definitely had a bar. It was nice. It actually had an open patio up on the 30th or 40th floor. It was nice. But nearby that, like going down the intersection, and I took a right and walked, there was this hidey hole kind of this restaurant. And they weren't just strict steak, but they did have steak. Yeah, 200. I went to this place, which was down the street from the hotel, or down the street and around the corner. Walking distance, easy. I was able to get a nice 12-ounce prime rib, steak fries, broccoli, unsweetened iced tea, because I love my tea. I have to drink tea. I don't drink coffee. I drink tea, cold iced tea. All of that was for $50. I'm like, that's the price right there. That's what I want. It's more than I like to pay, but I'm in New York City, not a shock. But it sure as hell wasn't fucking $200 at that yuppie place with the. And even this place had linen tablecloths. The wait staff were dressed in like white shirt with black vests, and it was nice. It was nice. It was small, but the food was good. So I wish I could remember the name of it. I'd give it out. Wonderful place. Look for a place to sell steak near the hotel if you are anybody. Yeah, good price, good food, good service. Yeah. Oh. Goodness gracious, I am exhausted now. Oh shit, it's almost 2:30. I have sworn more tonight than I have ever. Oh my god, this is. Oh, I know most people are gonna be like, dude, Dax, that's cool, man. But like, I don't like swearing too much. A lot of the streamers I do are really, the joke about say sont. I'm like, I just really want to be like a nice, for lack of a better term, comfy cozy. You can come in here, I love people that just lurk. I absolutely love it. I don't care. I'm not going to call you out. Have fun, watch, just enjoy it. You don't have to chat. I'll just talk. I'll talk your ear off. It's just I saw that VOD, and then it just reminded me of the Mickelson twins and all these other fly-by-night scam coaches, and I was just like, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to fucking talk about this on stream because it's my channel. I'm gonna rant for once in the time. The most times Dex went unsafe, so it was outstanding and funny. Well, thank you, Manga. I'm glad you liked that. Oh my goodness. It was cathartic. I will say that. It was cathartic. But you know what? Maybe I should actually do that VOD. I thought about doing a VOD about voice acting, the reality of what it's like to voice act, Not try to scare people off, like I said, but to just make people aware. You see these prices, you think it's going to be great, but in reality, you got to know the reality, what you're getting into, what you're going to be facing if you go for directed sessions, if you're going to do audiobooks, if you're going to do e-learning, what to look out for. I can make it a series, but I kind of worry that I'm almost going to have to say who I am, and I don't want to. I don't want to dox myself because, maybe I'm just wrong. It's just I don't want any of my family. I don't want my parents to, especially in this day and age. Like I play games and stuff. I don't really do FPS that much, but I have done a couple. I mean, God, the last thing I need is to get swatted. Although being in an office park, it might be a little different. Like, I actually know the cops because they know my car when it's parked outside. Because it's like nobody's here. Best time to record. Best time to record, especially when the sign guys aren't here outside and their trucks are idling. And I don't know. I've treated this room as best as I can. I've got bass traps in the corners. I actually built 3-inch thick acoustic panels. I've got those 2-inch acoustic foam. And yet still, the walls are not fully insulated, and I can't do anything about that. That's the office part. So, but anyway, be that as it may, and for once tonight, specifically here, phone hasn't crashed and restarted. Hell yeah, nice, congratulations, manga. I took all of that for you because I was like, oh my god, I think I was like 5-6 minutes late starting the stream. I forgot to turn my damn phone. So I was like, I looked over at OBS and I'm like, where am I? Like, what the hell? Where am I? I'm like, shit! I'm like, oh my god, I forgot. I was so busy trying to fix the chat, the chat so that bots won't come up. I forgot to put myself. And I'm like, god damn it. Oh my god, this stupid freaking night. Oh my god. So I forgot to reset my because I built this PC back in September, I think, September, October, because I was gaming off of a notebook when I first started streaming. Oh, that's why the streams look like the way they do. Like the Sekiro ones are like almost unviewable, and they were plus decided to go extra mode listening on my phone end type. Nice. Certainly makes it easier. You get better response probably, and you're not putting all the trust on your phone. So I built this PC, and of course I had to reinstall everything on it, and I had to reset up all my scenes and stuff. I totally forgot to do an intermission stream because I've got a animated background for that, and I usually play the one of my favorite songs, which is the Sunset Over. Oh god, I'm blanking on why am I blanking on the name of the music that I actually paid for? What the hell? Where's Dawn Over Saitama? That's right. Yeah, Dawn Over Saitama. Yeah, I'm gonna switch to that. I love that song. This is Breath of the Planet. Yeah, there we go. This is great. Shout outs to the composer that made this, because I actually picked this up. I picked my music up off of premiumbeat.com. I paid for the copyrights for these so that I don't have to worry about copyright strikes or any of that shit. Unless I actually play anime intros and then I get slammed by 12 studios that knock my stream off. Oh god, who was on? Yeah, one of my other regulars was on there, and he was like, "Dude, I'm sorry." I'm like, "It ain't your fault, man. I wanted to play Cowboy Bebop, and that was a mistake. You pay 1 frame of Cowboy Bebop, boom, your stream is taken offline until I stop playing it." Oh man. Yeah, it sounds nice. Yeah. It is really beautiful. It's a beautiful song. I know the composer I have listed in the. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Where is it? Where the heck is it? There we go. Oh, I'm right here. Jeez, I'm right in front of me. God. Where's it? Oh yeah, Shin Suzumu. That's right. Anime music plays Sony Entertainment. Dude, it wasn't even the music. It was the VOD itself. Because like I was actually playing. I had played Space Dandy. I played I was gonna play Record of Lost War, but unfortunately after that, after everything happened, I was like, nope. I actually played Chainsaw Man. No problems with Chainsaw Man. Intro, maybe it was because I was stopping and starting and just shocked by what I was seeing and talking about it. Maybe that's what did it, but nope, no claims on that. Bubblegum Crisis 2032, which is the first anime I ever watched, I think. It was either that or Record of the Lost War. And that one, I didn't play any of the music from it. The VOD, I think, kicked out around after 2 or 3 minutes because it's a long song. The intro songs were different for each episode. And I didn't even know it until the guy who was in chat with me. He's like, "Whoa, Dex, Dex, it says it's copyright." I'm like, "What? What do you mean? What experience with copyright?" I'm like, "What the hell?" So, Jamie got 12 different arts for each episode, ending sequences. Yeah, I wasn't actually watching the whole episodes. It was just the intro because I was kind of like gushing about some of the anime that I really love, like which is like the 80s and 90s anime. Not to say I don't like modern stuff. I absolutely do. Like I watch Chainsaw Man. I watch those Snow White Notes, which is a beautiful show. They still haven't released season 2 yet, which I'm kind of pissed off about. But it's about a guy who plays the Tsuguru Shamisen. So I already like because I'm trying to learn to play the Tsuguru Shamisen myself. That's a great story. So that's a relatively recent one. I like Kimetsu no Yaiba, which I think that's how you say it. That's Demon Slayer. That's a good one. I'm surprised I loved that one. So there's a bunch of stuff nowadays I actually watch and I like. But I'd played Space Dandy. Boom, copyright claim. And again, no audio, just video. Boom, claim. Bubblegum 2032. Boom, claim. Cowboy Bebop, I played 1 frame, boom! Not only claim, but when the VOD was up, the region locked it. Not even the US could play it. And then there was, oh my god, I played Outlaw Star, I got claimed on that one. I think I even did Martian Successor Nadesco, which I actually really liked too, that was a good one. By the time it was done, I literally had 13 or 14 claims on the dumb thing. 3 of them, 3 were, you can't play this anywhere. So that stream is like, oh, it's one of the few that is butchered because I had to edit it. I was so furious. It was both funny, but also I was really unhappy about that. Where was that? Which one was that? Nope, that wasn't that one. It was when I had anime characters in it. Oh yeah, all the way back 4 months ago. Yeah. Yeah, I had. There's one I have. Oh yeah, Martian Successor, Record of the Lotus War. Yeah, it was insane. Like, and it didn't stop until I stopped playing the VODs. That the video came back. So I'm like, oh well. I basically was like, well, there's my exposure to copyright. Now I know what happens if I do that. Hey, I don't see anything, but the audience does. Oh God, it was funny. It was. Well, frustrating as hell. Oh my God, I spent 2 days trying to edit it because I was trying to keep some of the stuff in. They even talked about my first waifu in there. Nene Romanova from Duolingo Twice's 2032. Redhead, sassy cop, hacker, boom, love it. She's great, awesome. First wife I ever had. So I recommend that episode. Do not. Wow, I keep saying, oh, I'm going to stop, and then I keep going on. Oh my God. I do not recommend the remake that they did of Bubblegum Crisis 2040. No, that got so. It turned religious in the second half. Like it became metaphysical BS and about the sentient robots called boomers. That they were trying to evolve into a higher form, and then there was this. And I'm sitting there, and of course, I'm watching this at a time. This is before the internet really was a huge common household thing. So I had to buy the DVDs to watch it. Okay, this was in this was like in the early 90s when I was watching this stuff. And I was getting my DVDs from a GameStop. At least I think it was GameStop. Maybe it was some other one. But either way, it was a game store, a video game store. And there was a young girl. She was about my age, working there. She loved anime too, and she was always the one that was selling me the DVDs for Bubblegum Crisis 2040. So I think they were sold in like 3 DVD packs, and I bought the first one, which I thought pretty good. All right, it's different. I vented because I was pissed what they did to Nene. They turned her into this weird, babyish child girl, like little sister instead of the grown woman that she was. She looked like a grown woman, but she was acting like this. I hated it. I hated what they did to her. They turned her to a blonde too. Okay. So I ignored that, and I still thought the way they had treated some of the other characters was better. There was more development with Lena, who's one of the main characters. I like that. Then it got to about the 7th DVD, and it just went downhill. Like, we're talking, oh God, what's the recent? There was a recent series that I was watching, and it did the same damn thing. What was it? It had one of the characters was named 02. It was these kids who piloted these mechs. They were always paired, boy, girl. God, what is the name of it? I remember I got claimed a few times by Disney because several years ago I filmed at the parks, mostly the shows, and yeah, I got some claims on. Was surprised, not surprised. Yeah, Disney's notorious. Darling in the Franxx. Yes, Darling in the Franxx. Yes, I loved it until it. Oh my God! Until it went to space. Well, even then, even before that, it was starting to go downhill. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna ride this through. And then there was the weird romance plot where they wanted to get married, and she wanted to have a baby. I'm like, isn't she like 16? Like, what's going on? Like, where's the fighting? Where's 02? Like, what's going on? Why is she not the same? And then, oh my God, the whole in space thing. Spoilers, if anybody's watching to this point. And then they went to space, and she became this like a 30-story tall, half spaceship, half human. And I'm like, oh my God, what have you done? What did they do to my baby? What did they do to my baby? Not gonna lie, I've never seen the anime. I'm sorry. Well, it is good. Like, the first half is good up until like episode 11 or 12, I think it is. Up until that point, the show is really good, and you can see where they're trying to go, but then it just like the worst part is the show is very much like, episodes are weird. It either takes too long to tell something, or it doesn't spend enough time. So it's got this weird pacing issue. But yeah, the story just went off the rails like around episode 11 or 12. Oh my God, it just went. It's almost as bad as Sword Art Online, the fairy dance arc. Oh, I can't watch that. I'm not gonna. I like Sword Art Online, the first one, which was the Aincrad, I think it was. I know what people love to dish on it and hate it, and yeah, it has problems, but Asuna, she's such a great character. Like, I was so pissed what they did to her in the fairy dance arc. Just disgusted. I was so sick about it. I almost didn't watch. I almost stopped watching it and just, oh my God. I was just, no. They had so many opportunities. They kept building her up in the Aincrad arc as Kirito's equal. Like, and he even would say, I think she's even faster than me. Like, I wanted to see that. And they had the opportunity. Oh boy, SAO. I've seen S1 up to Alicization when it aired on Toonami. Oh, okay. Alicia's. Isn't that the remake? Alicization? Yeah, Kirito's in it, right? I never watched that one. Like, I watched Aincrad, which is the first season. Then I watched the fairy dance arc, and I soldiered my way through Gun Gale Online. The first one when they were in the actual game itself, Aincrad. That one I'm actually okay with. The second one was disgusting. They had an opportunity, for crying out loud, they were dealing with mind control. Perfect opportunity to put Asuna against Kirito, to both A, show that this brain control technology is a threat, but B, to also show that she's a danger, just reinforce the fact that she is Kirito's equal, if not even better. And then they had the whole thing with, what is his name, Oberon there, that started. Oh my God, I hated it. But if they had actually gone in that direction instead of the tentacle things and the near rape, I mean, oh my God, I shouldn't say that word because I'll get demonetized. I'm not monetized anyway. What am I saying? But oh my God, they had the opportunity to actually pay off a plot line that never got resolved, never got talked about, and fulfilling on the everything built up in the first season, everything built up in the Aincrad arc, and it could have been so much better, and they just diarrhea all over the whole thing. It was just bad. And my stance is, yeah, season 1 pretty solid. Yeah, season 2, what the hell? Season 3, Elizization, like there's like a few course, really. Is Elizization, is that Gun Gal Online? Okay, Elizization, like chorus? No, it's not that. Okay. But it is the 3rd season, though. Okay. Okay, they must have broken up the weird. They must have done the season. The season's weird because I always thought like the damn fairy dance arc. I thought that was like season 2, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's part of season 1. Oh my god, that's disgusting. Gun Gal Online. I want to see where was. I don't care about Kirito. He's an idiot. Gun Gal Online has its own show. I thought that was because I thought that was actually. I really thought that was actually not Gun Gal Online. Gun Gal. Sword Art Online Alternative. Oh wait, that's a game. Oh, never mind. No, Sword Art Online Alternative. Gun Gal Online. Oh. It is. But Kirito's in it. He actually is. His character's weird. Like he's more feminized. Like it's more androgynous, I think. And then there's this whole weird thing with the sniper. I remember, like, it was interesting, but the whole thing was just like, by that point, I was just, what's the guy's name? Who's the other? Reki Kawahara or something? No. It's Keiichi. It's something. From what I understand, the author's not great about writing stories like that. But yeah, okay. So that's its own series. That explains it. Oh my god, 246. I'm gonna have to wrap this up. So yeah, I mean, this has been pretty good. I'm honestly surprised I went for as long as I did. Well, of course, ranting and getting catharsis, I guess, kind of helped too. I may have to do that sometime, but I think I can do a VOD about it. Reki Kawahara, is it really him? Okay. I think I'm gonna do a VOD about voice acting. I don't think I need to dox myself to do it. I can explain the fact that I can. It's what I do for a living. I can talk about it in detail if I want, but I'll keep it like high level, but still kind of like put a lot of the misnomers out there, put them down a little bit, because like I just worry when I start seeing a bunch of these damn ads coming out. I know that's a problem. If it's coming up on my feed and I have been blocking this shit for a long time, I can only imagine what other people's streams, social media feeds look like. So, yeah, I may do that. I just add it to the list of stuff I'm trying to do. Oh well. Oh god, my throat. I'm gonna have to take like 10 minutes to kind of like just drink and cool. Okay, well, oh man, this has been good. I'm honestly surprised. I was not expecting to talk to almost 3 o'clock. So yeah. Oh yeah, when you mentioned coaches, it reminded me that one of them actually follows my Twitter. Really? VA coaches, okay. So there's a VA coach that follows you, huh? Do you know the name? Because I've worked with about 8 different coaches, oh my god, I gotta stop doing this. Last piece of good advice for everybody: you definitely, depending upon what voiceover industry you're going into, which, as I mentioned, commercial, corporate narration, e-learning, audiobooks, video games, animation, dubbing, those definitely have different styles, different work, different methods, different thought processes. You definitely want to work with a coach in an industry you want to get into. So that's the reason why I have like six or eight coaches I work with. So I'm not sure if you know this one, but he's well known. Lad Russo, aka my man Brian Massey. No, I don't know him. But it doesn't mean that he's not legit. He probably is. If he's done a character, that's good. And if he's still working, I think that's even better. One of my coaches was Crispin Freeman. I know he's done anime dubbing. He was my character development coach for about a year. Really good, damn good guy. But his coaching sessions are so hard to get into. Like, they're only open for like a day and they fill up. Boom, they're all online. Unless you're in LA, then you can actually go in person to one of his stuff. He's good. He's good. But I can actually put out some of the coaches I've used in the past too. Oh, did I tell you about that? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. It fits for this topic too. Yeah. But anyway, oh my God. Depending on this, I talk about stuff and I just forget. So, you know, if it happens, I'm sorry. But anyway, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up. So thank you to everybody. I really appreciate the fact that I've had a bunch of people popping in. Manga, thank you for stopping by as well again. I love that. Great conversation, man. Anybody that was not expecting the swearing, I apologize, you know. But like I advertised on the tin, to me, sake time is, you know, time to be a grown-up, you know. Not NSFW, but, you know, just to not be too worried about censoring myself like I do in games. Except for Darkest Dungeon. That game just pushes all the right buttons. Oh my God. So anyway, I hope everybody has a good weekend. I hope you guys stay safe. Hopefully the weather's not too bad. Not ready for the tea spilling. That was nice and spicy. It was karai. The ocha was karai. But anyway, thanks again for stopping by, Manga. Everybody that was, because I was watching the views popping up and down. Love the fact everybody that was lurking. Thank you. I appreciate you all. I love the fact I have lurkers. That's because I lurk too. I always say it every time. You too, Manga. And everybody else, have a good night. Have a good weekend. Take care. Stay safe. Enjoy some time. If you're not working, enjoy it. Get the rest, because I'm going to try to get some rest. But I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Oh, I'll talk about my birthday stream next week because I've got a special idea for it. So I'll talk next week. So take care. Have a good night. See ya.